Chapter 798. Taking a step forward, Lucci's eyes glowed with awe-inspiring luster. His firm tone carried a hint of desperation. Although Lucci was usually indifferent and unreasonable, he still valued his companions. Just you? I don't know where your confidence comes from. Hearing this, Wu Chen looked at Lucci contemptuously. With a lazy smile on his face, he stretched and yawned casually. Then, he found a place to sit down. Although this series of actions was full of flaws, no one dared to make a move. I'm different from Blueno and the others. Lucci clenched his hand into a fist and said firmly. Lucci is useless, we can't escape. Kaku said in a deep voice, and his tone also revealed the meaning of death. Hearing this, Lucci raised his eyebrows slightly, and his eyes flashed with anger. He was about to scold them, but Dustless's voice sounded in advance. There's no need to be so sad, as long as you are willing to bow your head. Whoosh! Dustless's voice didn't fall, and a beautiful leg swept across. Little girl, you are young, but your temper is not small. Your boss hasn't made a move yet, and you can't wait to come to the door. Lightly lifting his hand to catch the beautiful leg that was sweeping towards him, Wu Chen smiled leisurely and said, You'd better watch obediently. Don't make a move so easily, or else you'll be exposed. Following Dustless's line of sight, what came into view was the most mysterious part of the woman. It turned out to be purple. Worthy of being the only woman in the CP9, her taste is heavy. Dustless smirked, and secretly slandered her in his heart. You bastard. I will kill you. Califa's face was red, and she naturally understood the meaning of Dustless's words. Her face flashed with a strong killing intent, and she tried to retract her leg that was caught by Dustless to avoid being seen by this bastard. His strength is so strong. Is this the strength of the Marine's highest combat power? Califa's face was cloudy, and she was shocked. She used everything she had, but she could not move Dustless. The hand that grabbed Califa's leg did not move. His expression was calm as if nothing had happened. Rankyaku. The silver-white light came straight at Dustless. It was as sharp as the slash from the sword and saber. The flowing wind and waves were cut in half. It looked as if it was going to devour and annihilate Dustless. I've told you before, this kind of random attack is useless against me. She raised her hand, and her small white hand was instantly corroded by the black color. The moment her slash came into contact with Dustless, her small black hand flung out, and the pale silver light trembled violently. Ka. The weak and powerless hand was filled with terrifying strength, and the huge silver light was instantly shattered. The exploding silver light scattered in all directions, rubbing a deep hole in the ground. You guys are too inexperienced. Dustless glanced at Kaku and said flatly. It was as if he had done something insignificant, and his tone was unusually calm. Strange ripples splashed in the air, spreading out like water ripples. Wu Chen raised his head subconsciously. Lucci stepped on the air and rose rapidly, easily climbing into the air, and then his body strangely stayed in the void for a moment, and countless flashes rushed down. Is this the Jeppo? Good steps. Nodding sincerely, Dustless ignored the existence of the laws of physics. His body strangely floated in the air, and his speed was extremely fast. In just a moment, he came to Lucci's side. A cat wants to roam the sky, the ground is your home. Lucci did not speak, but he felt a strong blow on his back. His face changed dramatically, and the piercing pain spread all over his body, and his internal organs trembled violently. Boom boom boom, a black shadow fell from the sky, and the whole ground trembled violently. Lucci lay motionless in it, and the scarlet blood stains on the corner of his mouth were clearly visible. It's over. Landing beside Lucci, Dustless condensed a high-density light at his fingertips. Sure gone. Kaku swept to Dustless's side like a ghost, and his strong and powerful thumb pierced straight towards Dustless's eyes. Armament hockey can defend the body, but it can't defend the eyes. Naive. With a dazzling flash, Kaku easily penetrated Dustless's body. Elementalization again? Tricky ability. Although Dustless's eyes were pierced, he was safe and sound. Elementalization can easily avoid physical attacks. It's impossible to use this kind of physical attack to hurt Dustless. It's difficult to even touch his body. Lightspeed kick. The right foot full of flashes rose from the ground and swept straight towards Kaku's head. Tekai. Kaku's back was cold, and he smelled the smell of death. At such a close distance, there was no time to escape. He could only increase his hardness without limit. Boom! After only a moment of stalemate, Tekai couldn't withstand the power of the lightspeed kick. Kaku's skull was obviously dented, and he was easily hit in the head, and he lost consciousness. Boom boom boom, the whole warehouse shook, and a huge cloud of smoke and dust was raised. Inside the closed warehouse, the dazzling sunlight shone in. Kaku's body smashed the thick wall, and a huge hole was opened. The sunlight slipped in through the hole. Don't forget that there is still me. Califa attacked from behind, and her beautiful legs swung again. Dustless leisurely looked back, his eyes twitched and his 3-tomo rotated, stirring up waves of ripples. Then Califa lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Chapter 799. In less than a minute, all the CP9 members were crushed by the overwhelming strength of Wu Chen. They had no power to fight back. In the face of absolute strength, any fruit and all kinds of abilities are useless and will only become a laughing stock. Kaku fell to the ground in a bloody mess. He was covered in blood and wounds all over his body. His breathing had stopped, and his heart and pulse had stopped beating. This meant that he had fallen. Bastard, why does justice have to lose to people like you who commit crimes? Lucci gritted his teeth and roared unwillingly. He lost his usual calmness. Almost all of his companions were killed. The blow to him was no less than 5 thunders. Although he was cold and ruthless, he cherished these companions who fought with him in the past. As the saying goes, as the saying goes, as the saying goes, justice is cheap and worthless. Dustless took advantage of the situation to attack Lucci's psychological defense. As a citizen of Tianlong, my status is obviously higher than the Gorasei, 5 elder stars, but you chose to be loyal to them. It's unwise. If you are willing to give up the darkness, I don't mind letting you go, but it's too late. Dustless said softly. Farewell. Rob Lucci. A dazzling flash condensed on the tip of his foot. Lucci, who was seriously injured, couldn't avoid it. He could only watch the flash of destruction engulf and annihilate him. Boom. Boom. Boom, the super-large fireball rose into the air, and the hot temperature melted the steel building. The large warehouse suddenly disappeared, and the ground was scorched black. The surrounding buildings were turned into ashes, and the scorching sun shot down from the sky. Boom. Boom. Boom, the dense roar of artillery shells covered the vibration caused by Dustless. Staring at the giant flame mushroom in the distance, the Marine Vice Admirals who launched the Demon Slayer order thought that it hit the warehouse where the artillery shells were stored. Looking around, the fire in Eni's lobby was monstrous. The whole island was burning with monstrous flames. It was dead silent, like a purgatory on Earth. Charred corpses could be seen everywhere. The boundless fire destroyed the entire island. As for her, she's a good witness. Staring at the unconscious Califa, Dustless rolled his eyes and used Kamui to temporarily suck her into another dimension. With Dustless's one-sided words, it is impossible to cover the coffin. If Califa can testify from the side and push all the blame to the Straw Hat Pirates, the Straw Hat Pirates will succeed. Caw caw caw. A white figure emerged from the scorched ground, revealing a brand new layer of soil. Lord Dustless, I've brought it. White Zetsu handed the photo in his hand to Dustless. It was the moment when the Straw Hat suppressed the CP9. Robin secretly took the photo and gave it to White Zetsu. Dustless nodded and spread out his perception. The changes in Eni's lobby were clearly visible to him. Not even the slightest movement could escape his eyes. The entire Eni's lobby was dead silent, there was nothing except for the monstrous fire. 5 days later, the Marine headquarters was filled with Marlin. Bang! The desk piled with thick documents suddenly trembled, and immediately, there was an angry shout. A bunch of idiots, Pluton's blueprint is gone, and even that Rob Lucci was killed. Isn't he the strongest killing weapon of the CP9? In the end, they didn't even figure out who the enemy was. Sengoku was so depressed that he vomited blood. It doesn't matter if he is killed. There is always someone stronger. This is also a helpless thing. But the most unacceptable thing is that almost all the members were killed, and they didn't even know who the enemy was. We don't have to worry about this, the Gora CI will send someone to investigate, it's only a matter of time before they find out. Akiji comforted Sengoku, indicating that there is no need to worry. It's not necessary, I know who did it. An unexpected voice broke the oppressive atmosphere, causing everyone to be startled and look towards the source of the voice in unison. Everyone's eyes were focused on Dustless. You know? Sengoku asked expectantly. Who did it? That Rob Lucci isn't weak. Akiji was deeply curious. He had seen Rob Lucci before and knew how strong he was. Dustless smiled and immediately said, the Straw Hat Pirates did it. As Dustless's voice fell, the scene was dead silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. The captain of the Straw Hat Pirates, Straw Hat Luffy, is only at the level of 100 million berries. It's absolutely impossible for him to kill Rob Lucci. Impossible, the Straw Hat Pirates are not Lucci's opponents. I have fought with them before. Akiji frowned and was the first to stand up and question Dustless. Kizaru and Akainu were the same, and even Sengoku was skeptical. After the Eni's lobby was destroyed by the Demon Slayer Order, I went to the island and met the only survivor, Califa of the CP9. I rescued her from the fire and found these photos on her body. After that, Dustless took out the photos that Robin secretly took. It recorded the moment when the Straw Hat Pirates crushed the CP9. Especially when the Straw Hat Pirates fought against Lucci. Everyone frowned when they saw the Straw Hat Pirates fighting against Lucci. Califa woke up yesterday, you can ask her. As for Pluton's blueprint, it was burned by Frankie. Dustless said without blushing. He put all the blame on the Straw Hat Pirates and Frankie. Chapter 800. With all the evidence, there is no doubt that the people who destroyed Eni's lobby are the Straw Hat Pirates. Sengoku's eyes were gloomy, the veins on his forehead were clearly visible, his hands were trembling slightly, and the cracks in the middle of the photo were clearly visible. In the unseen world, Dustless seemed to have heard the sound of crows cawing. The destruction of Eni's lobby isn't a trivial matter. Someone must stand up and take full responsibility. Kizaru leisurely crossed his legs and said while blowing smoke. If it wasn't for that idiot Span Dam, none of this would have happened. Akainu's hoarse voice was full of anger. Dustless was expressionless and chose to be silent. The people who knew that he got the Pluton design, except for the Straw Hat Pirates who were about to take the blame, were all killed. Naturally, he could rest easy. It seems that there will be a good show to watch. The corner of his eyes quietly looked at Akiji. Akainu attacked him with innuendo. If Akiji didn't give the golden den mushi to Span Dam, none of this would have happened, and Akiji would be the one to bear the brunt of the responsibility. The contradiction between Akiji and Akainu was also clear in the Marine, and everyone knew it. I'm afraid the one with the most advantage is this old guy. Only Kizaru is sitting on the fishing platform. This old guy is playing beautifully. Taking a step back in order to advance is also a means of self-protection. Wu Chen's gaze turned and fell on Borsellino. Span Dam. Forget it, he has already passed away, there is no need to put the blame on him. Sengoku waved his hand, and a haze flashed in his eyes. He immediately stared at the silent Garp, and after a moment of hesitation, the hesitation in his eyes finally turned into determination. The one who destroyed the CP9 is the Straw Hat Pirates, and all the blame will be borne by them. Sengoku finally chose to put all the blame on the Straw Hat Pirates and said righteously, if they didn't break into Eni's lobby at all costs, none of this would have happened. The main culprit is the Straw Hat Pirates. Of course, that idiot Spandam can't stay out of it. Raise the bounty of the Straw Hat Pirates. Captain Straw Hat Luffy's bounty has been raised from 100 million to 300 million berries. As for the other crew members, they have also been increased. Sengoku's voice was heavy. How long has it been since the last Alabasta? Luffy's strength was enough to defeat Rob Lucci, so Sengoku was worried. Wait, this isn't over yet. A hoarse voice spread out, his tone filled with dissatisfaction. Sakazuki, what do you think is wrong? Sengoku asked with a blank face. Kazan can't escape responsibility for this. If he hadn't given the golden den mushi to that idiot Spandam, none of this would have happened. This is a dereliction of duty. Akainu said generously. As an iron-blooded marine general, he can't rub sand in his eyes. Meritorious deeds will be rewarded, and mistakes will be punished. This has never changed since ancient times. Why is Akiji so special? Absolutely not. This guy even thought about the blame. Looking at Akainu speechlessly, Dustless could only shake his head. Akainu and Akiji really can't cooperate together. The two of them have completely opposite personalities. Akainu is known for being iron-blooded and cold. In order to achieve his goal, he will sacrifice anyone at will. Akiji's personality was relatively lazy, and he would stop when it was necessary. Therefore, the two of them are destined to be incompatible. This contradiction has been accumulating for more than 10 years, and once it breaks out, it will be irreversible. Kazan didn't do anything wrong. Nico, Robin and Frankie are both in Eni's lobby. It's right to take precautions in advance. Sengoku argued for Akiji. It's all that idiot Spandam's fault. If he hadn't rashly launched the Demon Slayer order, none of this would have happened. Taking a deep breath, Sengoku stabilized his anxious heart. All in all, this matter will be pushed to the Straw Hat Pirates, and all the blame will be borne by them. But, Akainu's face froze. Listening to Sengoku's tone, it was obvious that he was determined to protect Akiji. No buts, this matter ends here, don't mention it again in the future. Sengoku's tone this time was full of warning. Obviously, this Envoy Island incident was going to end in a hasty manner. Everything will be pushed to Straw Hat Luffy. Anyway, they were the ones who killed the CP9, and Califa was the witness. Idiot, glancing at Akainu with pity, Dustless had a little more sympathy for this guy. In this matter, it was obvious that Sengoku was covering up for Akiji. As Akainu said, Akiji was guilty of dereliction of duty. Without finding out what kind of person Spandam was, he gave him the right to launch the order. This in itself was a big crime of not knowing how to use people. However, Sengoku was helpless. It's not that he didn't want to pursue this matter, but if he did, Akiji would be suspended. Eni's lobby was destroyed for the first time in 800 years, and it was in the hands of their own people. This scandal is enough to deal a fatal blow to the prestige of the Marine. At present, the Marine can't do without Akiji. The deterrence of an admiral can maintain the current world structure. Suddenly, an admiral is inexplicably removed, and the current world structure may change. It seems that the smartest one is still Kizaru. Akainu and Akiji are fighting, and the only one who has the most advantage is Kizaru. Chapter 801. Every time there is such a dispute, the one who reaps the benefits is Kizaru. Living in the middle, he isn't affected by anyone, and he overlooks the development of the situation from his own point of view. Akiji is the successor of Sengoku. Looking at the disappointed and slightly decadent Akainu, Dustless knew the inside story. In the future, Sengoku intends to let Akiji take over as the next Marine Fleet Admiral, so naturally, it's impossible to damage his prestige. Akainu's face was complicated, and he couldn't hide the thousands of emotions in his heart. He's not an idiot. In front of Sengoku, Akiji is indeed more popular than him. A military horse wholeheartedly loyal to the Marine, in exchange for the current situation. Akainu's shining eyes couldn't help but dim, and he silently sat back in his original position, no longer wasting his breath. By the way, is Pluton's blueprint really destroyed by that guy named Frankie? Sengoku was worried about Pluton's blueprint. After all, it's an ancient weapon, and controlling it means that it's likely to control the dominance of this era. In other words, whoever owns an ancient weapon is the master of this world. Of course, this is what Caliph's CP9 saw with her own eyes. Dustless vowed, and the firmness in his words made people involuntarily convinced. Sengoku gently nodded, and his eyes immediately became cold. What about the Straw Hats? What about their movements? They smashed Eni's lobby, and they want to retreat safely? Dream on. I guess they should be returning to Water 7. Their ship is broken, and if they want to continue their journey, they must find a suitable ship for them to travel around the world. Dustless guessed, and at the same time, he also understood Sengoku's intention, which is nothing more than taking the opportunity to destroy the Straw Hats. We don't need to do it ourselves. Their next stop should be the island standing in the Magic Triangle, which is Moria's territory. I should personally go and destroy Straw Hat Luffy. That kid is a rat that can't be killed, and it's difficult to poison him without using a strong rat poison. Akainu, who couldn't hold back his temper, recommended himself. He always had a deep hatred for pirates, especially the more potential a pirate had, the more he wanted to destroy them. Red Hair Shanks is the best example. Back then, he was just a trainee crew member of Roger's pirates. Now, he has become the Yonko, for emperors, of the New World. Dustless couldn't help but smile when he heard this. He stared at Akainu mockingly. He didn't expect him to have a funny attribute. That's not necessary. Without thinking about it, Sengoku directly refused Akainu. If he sent him, maybe the target of the massacre would be the ordinary civilians of Water 7. Akainu would do such a crazy thing. The Ohara incident was like this. Ordinary civilians who had nothing to do with it were killed by Akainu. Many people in Water 7 who helped the Straw Hat Pirates fight against the government were also killed by him. Give it to Gecko Moria, he should be able to deal with the Straw Hat Pirates. Waving his hand, he motioned Akainu to sit down. Sengoku made the best decision. There was no need to continue to lose soldiers. The existence of Shichibukai was to contain pirates. Suppressing pirates with pirates, this is the meaning of the existence of Shichibukai. But then again, isn't it a bit too much for Moria to agree to deal with Whitebeard? Kizaru, who was silent, said. Moria's condition was Whitebeard's body after he was killed. Sengoku's face stiffened when he heard this. At least in Dustless's eyes, he showed an annoyed expression, as if he had suffered a lot, and his spirit was sluggish. At this moment, he had a headache. This is raising a tiger. If we give him Whitebeard's body, he might do something out of line. Kizaru said with worry. Shichibukai were ambitious people. Aokiji and Akainu were silent, and Dustless was not interested in this kind of thing, so it became Kizaru's stage in an instant. The solution to this cancer is actually very simple. After the war with Whitebeard is over, kill him directly. Dustless's eyes flashed coldly, and he immediately said casually. Anyway, this kind of thing is often done by Sengoku, and it's just a common thing for Marines. Hearing this, Sengoku looked at Dustless with a complaining look. This guy obviously scolded him. Whitebeard's body must not be given to Gecko Moria. If he can't, I think there are a lot of pirates in the New World who are qualified to be Shichibukai, and there should be a lot of big pirates who want to join Shichibukai. Time passed, and the dawn of dawn drove out the cold darkness. The distance gradually rose, and the world greeted the morning sun as usual. This time, it was obviously different from the past. While welcoming the bright sun at dawn, it was accompanied by earth-shattering news that shook the world. There is no such thing as an airtight wall in the world, and paper can't wrap fire. The news that the CP9 was destroyed, and Eni's lobby became a hell on earth. So the world was once again in the whirlpool of public opinion. With this storm, Straw Hat Luffy once again became famous all over the world. Not only Luffy, but the entire Straw Hat Pirates. And Dustless, the one who really destroyed the CP9, was leisurely drinking tea at this moment. Chapter 802. There is no doubt that Dustless's series of secret plans easily deceived the Marine's eyes and ears. With all the evidence and witnesses, it's difficult to deny Dustless's idea. There's no way around it, it's the truth. Garp, that guy left Marlindo. Where did he go? In the Admiral's office, Dustless leisurely faced the sun with a serene look. Behind him stood a slender figure, it was CP9's Khalifa. At this moment, Khalifa was dressed in black, her slender white legs were exposed, she was dressed as a secretary in the past. Yes, he left Marlindo, his specific whereabouts are unknown. Khalifa said expressionlessly. Her tone was like a machine, and her voice was filled with indifference. She was like an iceberg that had been frozen for thousands of years. Her whole body was filled with unprecedented coldness and deathly stillness. Unknown? You're not qualified to be a secretary. Dustless said with a straight face. He worked hard to keep Khalifa by his side to guard against Sengoku and others. These people are all black-hearted tigers, if Khalifa revealed the truth, it would not be worth it. That's why Dustless pulled her to be a secretary. I'll have a headache if you keep a straight face like this. Dustless looked at Khalifa helplessly, his face immediately swept with a strange smile. You're always so indifferent, it's difficult for you to be a secretary. I'm not your secretary, I'll definitely kill you if I have the opportunity, so you'd better kill me now, otherwise, you'll be torn to pieces. Khalifa's whole body exploded, the temperature in the room dropped to the freezing point, filled with killing intent. Ah. You're really cold. Dustless pretended to be afraid, but his eyes were full of ridicule and ridicule. In the world I lived in before, there was such a saying. Dustless touched his chin, stared at Khalifa and said with a smile on his face, if there's something, the secretary will do it, if there's nothing, the secretary will do it. Khalifa frowned slightly, her beautiful eyes flashed with some doubts, apparently she didn't realize what he meant. If there's something, the secretary will do it. If there's nothing, do the secretary. After reading it a few times, Khalifa's expression suddenly froze as understanding flashed through her mind. Her pretty face flushed red as if blood was about to drip out. Even an idiot would understand what he meant. Finger spear. Her white jade fingers were strengthened infinitely, revealing a bullet-like sharpness. She immediately stabbed towards Dustless' head. Just as she was about to pierce through his head, Dustless spoke up to stop Khalifa's actions. You also know my ability. The one who doesn't know how to be domineering is you. No matter how you attack me, it won't help. These words made Khalifa's body stiffen. Her eyes flickered as she lowered her head, seemingly thinking of a countermeasure. Pay attention to your identity, you are a Marine Admiral, not a rogue. Holding a black notebook in her arms, Khalifa said coldly. Dustless's secretary, Khalifa was actually waiting for an opportunity to take revenge on Dustless. Identity? Since you know that I am a Marine Admiral, don't do something stupid. Don't forget, while I am a Marine Admiral, I also have another identity. Taking a deep look at Khalifa, Dustless said meaningfully. He deliberately pulled off his coat, revealing a unique outfit with gold rims. Looking closely, the unique logo was clearly visible. Seeing this, Khalifa's face was pale with fear. In addition to being a Marine Admiral, Dustless is also a celestial dragon with absolute authority. As you said, I am a Marine Admiral. But you must also understand the character of a celestial dragon. Even if I do something worse to you, it will be reasonable in everyone's eyes, hee. At the end, Dustless deliberately showed a wretched smile, scaring Khalifa so much that her face turned pale. She was as weak as a willow branch, she could only let Dustless beat her. Little girl, if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know who I am. Seeing Khalifa's timid face, Dustless smirked in his heart. Now you should tell me where that old man Garp went. My body is itchy, and there is a fire in my stomach. If I don't get it out, I may explode and die. It's a headache, I'm struggling to find something to vent. His unscrupulous eyes stared at Khalifa, the meaning is self-evident. If Khalifa is perfunctory like before, he will directly punish her. In other words, he will force himself on her. He went to impel down, his purpose should be to see Fire Fist Ace. Califa quickly arrived, her eyes were filled with fear and fear. She has a deep understanding of the nature of a celestial dragon. Celestial dragons are both the creator of this world and the destroyer. No one can defy their authority. Those who provoke a celestial dragon will die. However, Califa is not afraid of death. When she was young, she had already seen through life and death. The only thing that makes her deeply uneasy is Dustless's character that likes to change his face like flipping a book. Just now, he was still indifferent, not sad, not happy, but now this wretched and brutal appearance completely shows the indifference of a celestial dragon. To some extent, this is the truest portrayal of the celestial dragons. They give their power to the Gorasei, 5 elder stars, who are equivalent to secretaries, while they choose to hide in Mariewa and live an extravagant and luxurious life. Chapter 803. To some extent, this is the truest portrayal of celestial dragons. They give their power to the Gorasei, 5 elder stars, who are equivalent to secretaries, while they choose to hide in Mariewa and live an extravagant and luxurious life. More than 99% of celestial dragons in Mariewa live like this. Califa felt a chill in her heart. Although Dustless doesn't look like a crazy person from his appearance, the nature of a celestial dragon is well known throughout the world. Extravagance and debauchery were the true portrayal of them, and cruelty was their style of living. Have you thought about it now? Squinting his eyes, Dustless jokingly looked at Califa, whose mouth was twitching and fists clenched, and said with a smile, "This is the nature of the world where the strong prey on the weak. If you are exploited, you can only blame yourself for being too weak. Didn't Lucci once say that being weak is also a sin?" Dustless came and waited for Califa's choice. A wise man submits to circumstances, such a quick-witted woman should know the simple meaning. After a long silence, Califa could only bow her head and admit defeat. She immediately opened the black notepad in her hand. "Mr. Garp seems to have gone to impel down. I didn't know that you respected Garp." Hearing the word "Mr." in Califa's tone, Dustless was quite surprised. Impel down. A few days ago, Fire Fist Ace was safely locked up in Impel down. If I'm not mistaken, Garp went to see Ace. After all, they haven't seen each other for many years. It's normal to talk about the old days. Califa explained. She didn't know the relationship between Fire Fist Ace and Dustless, but these days as secretary, she came into contact with a lot of secrets that she didn't know in the past. Is it really that simple? Frowning slightly, Dustless's eyes were filled with doubts. It's not that he doubts Garp. It's normal to look at his grandson who was imprisoned, but Dustless always felt that there was a different meaning. Everyone knows that Garp values feelings. You doubt Mr. Garp? He is the hero of the Marine. Califa said with dissatisfaction, with some worship in her eyes. Dustless glanced at Califa and sighed. Garp was indeed loyal to the Marine, but if he had to choose between his family and the Marine, it was still unknown which side Garp would choose. Rewinding his thoughts, Dustless still clearly remembered that during the War of the Roofs in the future, Garp had deliberately gone easy on him. In the end, he was sent flying by Monchi D. Luffy's punch. It wasn't that Luffy was stronger than Garp, but he did it on purpose. Garp didn't want to see Ace executed, so he let Luffy go. Otherwise, with Luffy's performance during the war, even 10 Luffys combined wouldn't be Garp's match. 2 days later, there were a lot of Marlin. Rumble rumble, Dustless, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the Den Den mushi on the table. His face was filled with doubt. The purple Den Den mushi was frightened. What's the matter? Dustless put the Den Den mushi to his mouth and asked indifferently. Boom boom boom, on the other side of the Den Den mushi, there was a roar, accompanied by sharp screams and vibrations. It should be a type of artillery bombardment, and he could clearly hear the sounds of battle. Virgo. What's the matter? Virgo, one of Doflamingo's men, used the Den Den mushi to communicate with Dustless. At this moment, his voice was anxious and a little flustered. A large number of pirates are attacking the G5 base, and we can't hold it anymore. His heavy and hoarse voice was filled with unprecedented caution, and it gave people the feeling that he was already half a step into hell. A large number of pirates? Hearing this, Dustless's eyes flashed with suspicion. Virgo's strength is extraordinary. He can use Busashoku Haki all over his body. His strength is amazing. Although he is only a Marine Vice Admiral, his real strength is far beyond an ordinary Vice Admiral. Which pirate group dares to openly attack a Marine base? Their courage is not small. Dustless asked coldly. Virgo's face flashed with embarrassment and immediately said helplessly, I don't know the specifics. These people don't seem to be from the same pirate group, but their strength is extremely amazing. I'll be right there. After that, Dustless turned off the Den Mushi. After tidying up his clothes, when he was about to reinforce the G5 base, several Den Mushi on the table rang again. Not only Dustless, but also in the offices of Akiji, Kizaru, and Akainu. All the Den Mushi rang, and the content was strangely surprisingly the same. They were all under attack by powerful pirates and couldn't wait to ask for help. All the marine bases in the New World were under deadly attack almost at the same time. The entire marine headquarters was jumping up and down, and high-level combat power was constantly dispatched. Even Garp, who went out to visit the prison, was called back by Sengoku. Such an embarrassing situation suddenly happened, and the entire marine was busy like ants on a hot pan. Although Sengoku made preparations for the first time, there were still many marine bases being occupied and destroyed. The pirates of the world suddenly united together, and this time they went out unexpectedly, and their purpose was very simple. At the same time, they attacked the marine headquarters. Chapter 804. Pirates all over the world attacked the marine base at the same time. There is no doubt that there must be an invisible hand behind them. In the airtight conference room, the stars gathered, the smoke was swirling, the choking smoke gathered and the air into the lungs was full of tobacco smell, which was nauseating. Even so, everyone remained calm and focused, not daring to make the slightest action that would overstep their status. The only one in the world who can mobilize so many pirates is the Yonko, 4 emperors. Sengoku on the main seat was solemn. The Yonko, 4 emperors, all had powerful strength comparable to the marine headquarters, especially the head of the Yonko, 4 emperors, Whitebeard. Their strength and the size of their pirate group are top. Most of the islands have been captured. We are completely in a passive situation. We are led by the nose by the pirates. Once the Marines rush over, they will retreat in advance. After the Marines leave, they will come back again. We are exhausted for a while. Marine Chief Staff Officer Tsuru said seriously. Her old wrinkled face was meticulous. Her brow wrinkled from time to time. Obviously, she also had a headache about the sudden pirate riot. The Marine can easily deal with and annihilate them one by one. The Marine can't deal with them at all. It is difficult to make an effective counterattack in a short time. Did you find out who did it? Sengoku lowered his voice and asked hoarsely. This is not clear. Tsuru also smiled bitterly. It happened suddenly and there was no time to investigate who did it. They didn't even know the specific number of enemies. The only news they got was that the dense pirates annihilated a large number of Marines. All kinds of pirate flag replaced the Marine flag. Who did it? The answer is actually obvious. The only person in the world who can use so many pirates is that man. He is the king of the sea. With wisdom in his eyes, Dustless whispered, there is no doubt that this riot is definitely the ghost of the Yonko, 4 emperors. Big Mom and 100 Beast Kaido, including Red Hair Shanks, it's impossible. Only Whitebeard who recently became enemies. The words made everyone frown. Kizaru said lazily, we didn't become enemies with Whitebeard. The people who caught Fire Fist Ace, the high-level Marine and Shichibukai know that when Kazan and I escorted Fire Fist Ace, we were not attacked by Whitebeard's pirates. There was no attack, which means that Whitebeard didn't know about it. Otherwise, according to Whitebeard's character, he would save Fire Fist Ace at all costs. Dustless's eyes looked at Kizaru with playful eyes. You should still have an impression of Blackbeard. When he joined the Shichibukai, he was responsible for sneak attacking Whitebeard himself. I think you haven't forgotten his miserable appearance when he was suppressed. But in the end, he escaped, which has explained everything. At this point, everyone looked stiff, including Kizaru, who was speechless and stunned. He already understood what Dustless was going to say next. When I caught Fire Fist, Blackbeard happened to be there. It is estimated that when Blackbeard attacked Whitebeard, he was not his opponent and was caught by Whitebeard. As a result, in order to save his life, he revealed the news of Fire Fist to Whitebeard. Otherwise, with Blackbeard's strength, do you think he could escape from Whitebeard? After he finished speaking, Wu Chen sat down calmly. Regardless of everyone's gaze, he closed his eyes and rested as if everything that had been said before had nothing to do with him. The tip of his thumb tapped on his knee rhythmically. He seemed to enjoy it and ignored everyone's existence. The scene was silent for a moment, and everyone looked at Dustless. Although it was just an unfounded speculation, no one could find a refuting point. Seamless and flawless, according to Dustless's thinking to understand the development of the situation, all the fog disappeared in an instant. Yes, Blackbeard is a despicable guy who is afraid of death and has no backbone. In order to survive, it is very likely that he sold the news of Fire Fist to Whitebeard. Vice Admiral Tsuru, known as the Marine's top think tank, nodded in agreement. It's not very likely, it's accurate. Sengoku lowered the brim of his hat to hide his murderous face, and the cold light in his eyes made his glasses covered with a thick layer of frost. When Blackbeard joined Shichibukai, he didn't have good intentions, but the 5 Elder Stars nodded and agreed, damn Blackbeard. Sengoku cursed fiercely, and the chill in his words could not wait to tear Blackbeard into pieces. He calculated his whole life, but he didn't expect to be calculated by this younger generation. In the end, Sengoku's heart was burning. Should we revoke his position as Shichibukai now? The silent Akiji asked. It's not necessary at all. Sneering, Wu Chen's eyes flashed with ruthless light. Blackbeard and Whitebeard are as deep as the sea. We can temporarily use him to deal with Whitebeard. Give him a taste of his own medicine. That kid will definitely agree. Are you sure? Sengoku asked suspiciously. Blackbeard is as cunning as a mouse. It is impossible for him to be so easily fooled. It's not certain, it's inevitable, no one can stop it, they are destined to be enemies. Hearing this, Dustless was very sure, Blackbeard's desire for tremor fruit, Gura Gura no Mi, he knew better than anyone else. For tremor fruit, Gura no Mi, Blackbeard will definitely take risks to deal with Whitebeard. Chapter 805. Recently, Blackbeard has been hunting pirates all over the world all day long, and the Marine headquarters has turned a blind eye to this. His behavior can be regarded as promoting world peace, and the Marine is happy to do so. The existence of Shichibukai is to contain pirates, and Sengoku is also pushing the boat, hoping that Blackbeard will do justice for the heavens, so during this period of time, he has taken a state of indifference to Blackbeard. But then again, what is the purpose of Whitebeard's unscrupulous attacks on Marine bases all over the world? Is it to retaliate against the Marine for capturing Fire Fist Ace? Isn't he too naive? Akiji said doubtfully, with a hint of dissatisfaction. This is like an angry child venting his anger. If he wants to fight the Marine, he will fight the Marine. It's too arrogant and willful. He doesn't put the entire Marine in his eyes at all. That old guy can't wait to die. Akainu's eyes were full of fire, and his gloomy face was even darker. But this also explains a problem, Vice Admiral Tsuru rationally analyzed. Whitebeard doesn't know that Fire Fist Ace is in Impel Down. Otherwise, he will directly attack Impel Down. Dustless heard this and nodded undeniably. Whitebeard knows the location of Fire Fist Ace and can directly attack Impel Down. There is no need to destroy the Marine base. Rumble rumble, the Den Mushi spread out, and everyone's eyes focused on the special Den Mushi on the side of Sengoku's table. The content of the Den Den Mushi surprised everyone. It turned out to be Gorosei, 5 elder stars. This special time, it doesn't seem to be a good thing. As a celestial dragon, Dustless knows Gorosei, 5 elder stars, far better than ordinary people. This black special Den Den Mushi is used to contact Gorosei, 5 elder stars. Sengoku. Sure enough, on the other side of the Den Den Mushi, there was a powerful and oppressive voice. Although it sounded unusually old, the majesty contained in the tone was chilling. The momentum that has been trained for a long time is enough to make people feel awe. It's just a casual sentence that makes everyone nervous, and the scene is particularly oppressive. These guys. What's there to be afraid of with 5 old men? Dustless couldn't help but shake his head when he saw that all the Marines were cautious. There were hundreds of thousands of Marines and countless masters. In front of the Gorosei, 5 elder stars, they could only sit on pins and needles. The Emperor's mind is unpredictable, and the same is true for the Marines. They can never guess what the Gorosei is thinking. You should understand the current situation. I don't have much to say. The rebellion in the New World must be suppressed immediately, no matter the cost. A cold voice came from the Den Den Mushi. There was no emotion, it was just a simple command, there was no other emotion. People who don't understand may think that this is a dialogue between Sengoku and mechanical steel. It is the Marines' duty to annihilate the pirates, and the pirates will not be let go. Sengoku vowed. Okay. The Gorosei of the Den Den Mushi just whispered and immediately hung up. Sengoku's face was bleak, and there was deep loneliness between his eyebrows. His eyes were slightly turbid, and he was full of confusion about the future. Not only Sengoku, but all the senior Marines were silent and bowed their heads. In the end, the current Marines are at most helping the tyrants in the name of justice, because the world government established by the Gorosei, 5 elder stars, originally belonged to an extremely evil organization. The world is making fun of us. Seeing this scene, Dustless couldn't help but sigh. He naturally understood the complicated thoughts in Sengoku's heart. Damn Whitebeard. The angry roar spread out, and the sound waves were hot. Sengoku's mouth was cold. At all costs, immediately suppress the riots around the world. What about Whitebeard himself and his movements? Dustless, who was silent, suddenly asked. Sengoku's eyebrows squeezed together, and his eyes flashed with doubts. That old guy is strong and extremely cunning. We haven't found any trace of him until now. But this is not important. Suppressing the riots is the most important task now. Dustless gently nodded. He always felt that something was wrong. The whole world was in a mess, but Whitebeard and his pirates didn't move. There was not even a shadow of a ghost. This was a problem in itself. Sengoku was so determined that Dustless couldn't talk nonsense. After all, he was the fleet admiral. Countless battleships sailed out to sea, carrying the monstrous anger of the Marine, and rushed to the major sea areas of the world. The senior Marine, and even the retired Z were also invited by Sengoku to resolve the crisis. Somewhere in the New World, there was a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. This was originally the G5 base of the Marine. Now it is like purgatory on Earth. There are monsters everywhere in human skin. A large Marine battleship approached the shore, and several figures also jumped from it. Damn Whitebeard. That old thing really has a problem. His purpose is not to retaliate against the Marine. Dustless looked at the bloody island and understood the purpose of Whitebeard. Chapter 806. Everywhere he looked, the whole island was permeated with the smell of blood. Perhaps because of the long time, the corpses were somewhat deteriorated and filled with the smell of blood. The pungent smell entered the mouth and nose and made people feel nauseous. Even Dustless's face changed slightly when he smelled the stench. After the scorching sun, these corpses have developed a stench and a nauseating smell floated out. Fire release, great fire annihilation. His hands quickly formed a seal. The boundless sea of fire whizzed out from Wu Chen's mouth and engulfed the world. The blue sky instantly turned dark red and the entire island was set ablaze with fire. The rotten corpses also went away, dust to dust, dust to dust, and eventually turned into dust between heaven and earth. Whitebeard. That cunning old guy. Glancing at the almost destroyed and almost sunken island, Dustless turned and left. From the beginning to the end, Sengoku was caught in the dream that Whitebeard had carefully woven for him, and he was deeply trapped in it and could not extricate himself. Akiji stood silently on the deck and looked down at the flames. The strength of these people was full of stench, and cremation was the best way to end them. Those guys are really cunning and treacherous. After killing people, they ran away. They even abandoned gold and silver treasures. It's the first time I've seen such disciplined pirates. Akiji said with emotion, but he was speechless. Pirates are superficial people who regard money as their lives. It's rare to see pirates who simply ignore gold and silver treasures. Around the island and in the damaged marine base, rare metals can be seen everywhere, and there are many extremely precious emerald agate jewelry. It's because of this that there are so many flaws. These worldly things are fatal to pirates. They can turn a blind eye to them. It shows that these pirates are extraordinary. Only the pirates under Whitebeard can be indifferent when they see treasures. Dustless said that the pirates of the Whitebeard pirates value their family. For things like gold, perhaps in their eyes, it is just an insignificant metal substance. That old fellow Whitebeard must be plotting something. Really, he's already so old, but he's still so noisy. How good would it be if he could enjoy his old age happily? Akiji said sadly. He felt helpless towards the energetic Whitebeard. Don't worry. If it's a fox, its tail will be exposed sooner or later, Dustless said calmly. Whitebeard controls the situation of the world behind the scenes, but his whole person is like raising his hand in the deep sea. He neither moves nor shows up. He just ordered the pirates who were once attached to him to attack the marine base. Navies all over the world were jumping up and down, flustered, and lost their usual rhythm. The G5 base is now in ruins. There's no need to stay any longer. Let's go back. Looking at the burning island in the distance, Dustless ordered the warship to leave, heading towards the marine headquarters. Almost all the people on the island were killed. As for Virgo himself, maybe he was strong enough to escape. Dustless didn't find his body among the corpses of the Marines. Huge ripples were set off on the quiet sea, and the warship turned back. They encountered many big pirates on the way, but they were also wiped out by Akiji and Dustless. For some pirates, an admiral is a ferocious predator at the top of the pyramid, an invincible existence. Somewhere on an island in the New World, the main force of the Whitebeard pirates gathered here. Oyaji, it's almost time. The whole world is in a mess. The marine headquarters Sengoku is busy putting out fires everywhere. They don't have time to worry about us. On the ship, Marco looked at Whitebeard, who was holding the big sword in his hand. Don't be too hasty. There's enough time. Take it slow. Whitebeard stared at the void in the distance. About hundreds of meters away, there was lightning and thunder, everything was dead, and everything was dead. His mood was the same at the moment. He was full of confusion and hesitation about the future. Whether it is forcibly tearing the dark clouds in the sky, bathing in the fresh air and sunshine, or accompanied by the lightning in the sky, turning into dust and completely stepping into hell, Whitebeard doesn't know. What about Akagami boy? The next step of the plan depends on his progress. Turning his head, Whitebeard's old voice was full of caution. Just a few days ago, Whitebeard and Akagami Shanks met secretly. The two secretly formed an alliance and discussed some plans against the Marines. Now the rioting pirates all over the world are indeed instigated by Whitebeard, but Akagami Shanks has been hiding in the dark, quietly waiting for the opportunity to attack. Akagami is still preparing. After all, the opponents are two Marine admirals. They can't be underestimated. Marco defended Akagami Shanks when he thought of the enemy that the Akagami pirates were about to face. Whitebeard lowered his head to think and immediately nodded seriously. The highest battle power of the Marine headquarters, each one of them is one of the strongest in the New World. Recalling the precise and detailed plan, Whitebeard's tightened heart also calmed down and restored the tranquility of the past. Once all the high-end battle powers of the Marine headquarters are contained, it will be time for the Whitebeard pirates to move out. Like a sharp knife, he will stab the throat of the Marines and give them a fatal blow. Chapter 807. Time passed and it was getting closer to dusk. The gorgeous crimson sunset was sprinkling on the sea surface. Long-distance travel is bound to consume a lot of energy and physical strength, so ordinary Marine soldiers need to go to the land often, otherwise they can't stand it. The breeze was getting cold, and the sky was getting dark. Looking up, the night turned into a deep black sky. After a day of intense high-density sailing, Dustless was a little hungry. His stomach was growling. He followed the soldiers down the island and caught a few sea kings for dinner. The bonfire spread, and after an hour, the captured sea kings were roasted. Rumble, at this moment, the Den Den Mushi in Akiji's arms suddenly rang. What's the matter? Borsellino, Wuchen continued to gnaw the one-piece barbecue in his hand, and the light in the corner of his eyes condensed and focused on Akiji. In the middle of the night, Kizaru called Akiji, making it as mysterious as a secret date. I was attacked by other pirates just now. Be careful. Kizaru's slightly gloomy voice came from the other side of the Den Den Mushi. It was unusually dignified, with a warning meaning. Obviously, the pirates who attacked him weren't ordinary. Rumble, just as Dustless was about to ask for the details, the Den Den Mushi in his hands suddenly rang. The crimson Den Den Mushi was screaming, and the person who contacted him was Sakazuki Akainu. Sakazuki. Don't tell me you were also attacked by pirates. Dustless didn't wait for Sakazuki to speak in advance. Boom boom boom, Sakazuki didn't speak on the other side of the Den Den Mushi, but there was an explosion of fists and a large number of pirates and Marines fighting against each other. It can't be so coincidental. Akiji was speechless. They were attacked at the same time, and they used Den Den Mushi to contact each other. It was as if they had discussed it in advance. It's hard not to be suspicious. It seems that, it's the two of us. The tranquility on Wu Chen's face was restrained. His pair of clear eyes were extremely sharp like an eagle. Even the slightest movement of the wind and grass on the entire island couldn't escape from Wu Chen's eyes. Dustless thought that everything was normal, but a huge ripple suddenly appeared on the surface of the sea. Even though it was cleverly hidden under the dark night sky, it still couldn't escape Dustless's eyes. Not only him, but also Akiji, as well as many other Marines, saw it clearly. I can't wait any longer. It's finally my turn. To be honest, I'm looking forward to it. He dares to attack two admirals at the same time. I'm really curious about the level of the opponent. Akiji's eyes were shining, and his tone was filled with anticipation. I'm curious as well. Wuchen also nodded with Akiji and immediately looked cold, revealing a strong killing intent. But I am more concerned about what kind of death squad Whitebeard, who has always regarded pirates as his own, will send to die. Whitebeard's sentimental and righteous nature was well known throughout the world. At the very least, he should be the captain of some division. Akiji guessed after hearing this. No matter how many small fries there were, it would not change the essence. If they wanted to compete with the admiral, only captains could do it. Of course, it's only a competition. Compared with the captains of the Whitebeard pirates, the admiral is still slightly better. Something's wrong. Are my eyes dazzling? Our ship seems to be sinking. Bastard, someone must have cut through our ship at the bottom of the water. My eyes are dazzling. Most of the ship has sunk. I hope it's just a dazzling sight, idiot. The ripples on the surface of the water were getting bigger and bigger, and the battleship continued to sink. In just a few minutes, the whole ship disappeared. Not only that, all Marine battleships were in the same situation. Looks like he's trying to seal off our escape route. Could it be that Whitebeard, that crazy man, wants to kill us directly? His observation haki spread quietly, and Akiji paid attention to the situation of the surrounding sea to prevent the Whitebeard pirates from attacking. On the other hand, he said to Dustless in a serious tone. However, what surprised Akiji was that the surrounding sea was as quiet as the Dead Sea. Not to mention the battleship of the Whitebeard pirates, he didn't even see a figure. Seal off our escape route? According to the current situation, they are indeed blocking our retreat, but the purpose is not to annihilate us. Tensigan twisted and took in the changes in the deep sea. Dustless's doubts disappeared and he understood the purpose of the Whitebeard old man. Through the perverted insight ability of Tensigan, under the deep sea, he can see dozens of figures fleeing in a hurry. Although their identity and origin are unknown, they have the logo of the Akagami, red hair, pirates behind them. Even if he doesn't know their names, he can guess where they came from. Akagami, red hair, and Whitebeard actually joined forces. If I didn't guess wrong, they painstakingly made such a big move. In the final analysis, it involves the high-level battle power of the Marine. This is to delay time and make preparations for the next thing. From the very beginning, Dustless felt strange. The high-level battle power of the Marine was all restrained. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, it indirectly explained the problem. This was not the revenge of Fire Fist Ace after he was caught, but a thorough conspiracy. The target was not the Marines of the world, but a sufficient plan for Whitebeard's next plan. Delaying the admirals of the Marine and completing other tasks during this period, to put it bluntly, it is a diversion. Chapter 808. Thousands of doubts disappeared with the wind, and Dustless also understood Whitebeard's intentions. Revenge on the Marines was just a diversion to attract the attention of the Marines until the Marines all over the world were busy, then he could implement the plan with peace of mind. Ice Age. Akiji jumped up, and his arms shot out thick ice, and in an instant, the entire sea was frozen, and the biting cold penetrated the oppression of death and despair. Not to mention being frozen directly, even if you take a breath of cold air, ice will condense in your nostrils. Although I don't know who you are, if you are attacked by Ice Age, you will sleep in the deep sea forever. Akiji breathed a sigh of relief. Although he was not as extreme as Akainu, it was impossible for him to let the pirates escape. It would be best if he could catch them alive, if not, he could only kill them. Kuzan, you will be disappointed this time. The guys on the bottom of the sea are not ordinary people. Dustless said with a little teasing tone. Ice Age is one of my strongest moves. Even if Whitebeard himself is hit by it, he will definitely be seriously injured. Akiji said affirmatively, full of confidence. Of course, but that's if it hits. What if it doesn't hit? Taking a deep look at Akiji, Dustless said meaningfully. Is it possible that they have a backup under the sea and escaped the attack of Ice Age? Akiji said gloomily. Dustless nodded undeniably. The pirates who sank their battleship were prepared in advance. Akiji's face was stiff, and his observation haki spread out, and the situation under the sea was clear. He found that Ice Age did not bury this group of people, and they were all dexterously avoided. At the moment, he clenched his fists like a nervous reflex. This time, he was tricked. Through the perverted vision of Tensigan, Dustless could clearly see the situation under the sea. Several coated ships were moving quietly under the sea, and the skeleton flag on the pirate ship was the Whitebeard pirates, but it was Red Hair Shanks who did it. This group of guys, pirates have such a rigorous style of doing things, and they are very different from those pirates. No wonder they are the Yonko, four emperors. With a touch of pity, Akiji said with emotion. Most of the top talents in this sea seem to have joined the extreme industry of One Piece. We messed up the mission this time. The ship was sunk, and we didn't catch the pirates. Not only that, Akiji shrugged and smiled bitterly. All the navies were sallow and emaciated. Not only that, I'm afraid that this time, we have to ask the fleet admiral to send a ship to pick us up. It's a mistake. All the warships have sunk, and if they want to return to Malindo, they must be picked up by the warring states. Marshall can't avoid a scolding. Rubbing his temples in distress, Akiji sighed deeply, and his understanding of Whitebeard deepened. His appearance is rough, and he looks like the other pirates, but in fact, he's not. That old guy's wisdom is probably unmatched in the whole world. Even the two of us found his way." Akiji's tone was sad, and he felt a headache for an enemy like Whitebeard. His strength is strong, but his IQ is also one of the top existences in 10,000. This time, the entire Marine headquarters was played by him. Despite this, countless islands were destroyed, and the Marine's face was swept because of Whitebeard. "You're right. That old guy's plan is flawless. Strength and wisdom coexist. He can be called a perfect existence. He can be on par with Roger and Golden Lion Shiki. He is known as the legendary Three Pirates. In this era, Whitebeard has the title of Yonko, Four Emperors. He is an impeccable existence in all aspects." The thread of discussion suddenly turned, and Dustless's eyes were filled with killing intent. This time, that old guy was wrong. "But they have already won and sunk our ship." Even if Akiji was unwilling, he had to admit the reality of failure. Winning doesn't mean it's over. Sooner or later, you will pay for it. His observation haki spread out, and after locking the pirates under the deep sea, Dustless sneered, and his hand was like a black hole that attracted countless high-density photons. He said in his heart, "Yasakani no Magatama." Shoo shoo shoo, thousands of flashes of light roared down, destroying the sea that Akiji had frozen before, and the momentum of the light bullets in the sky was unstoppable as they swept towards the depths of the sea. Bang bang bang, through the perception of observation haki, he could perceive that several people were killed, their bodies were pierced, and a lot of blood flowed out. It's a pity, after all, it's the bottom of the sea, and there is resistance. Their ship is coated with film and has an advantage. Our Marine is not a sea king. Akiji said regretfully. If it was on the ground, the group of pirates on the bottom of the sea would be instantly killed. Don't forget where you are, as long as you kill a few people, don't forget the creatures that dominate the sea, they will clean it up for us. Dustless smiled mysteriously, giving people a feeling of gloominess. Akiji was stunned, and after thinking for a long time, his eyes flashed. "You mean the Sea King?" Dustless gently nodded. The Sea King's sense of smell is extremely sensitive, and there are thousands of them. They exist in the sea all over the world, and they are worthy of being the dominators. Now that the blood of these people has merged into the deep sea, it will immediately attract the strongest top predator of the sea, the Sea King. Chapter 809. At this time, everyone outside the door was in disbelief. Because a long time had passed, and many cigarettes had been lit. In KK's eyes, there was a hint of worry. He frowned and said, "That guy can really do it. Nothing has happened after so long. How did he do it? Is he crazy?" As soon as he finished speaking, Klaus was also very suspicious. He frowned and took a deep breath. For a moment, his eyes were filled with suspicion. He said strangely, "I didn't know that he could hold on for so long. It's really incredible. I didn't expect him to be able to do it to this extent. How did he do it? How is that possible? How could he last for so long? That kind of terrifying game is not something a human can play. How could he do it? It's simply impossible." Ulshikov said, "How did he do it? How could he last for so long? That kind of terrifying game is not something a human can play." As soon as he finished speaking, everyone felt that it was unbelievable. Stephen frowned and said curiously, "Generally speaking, a normal human can't play that kind of game, right?" Klaus shook his head and took a deep breath. He said, "I don't know. I don't know much about Dustless. I only know that he shouldn't lose to that guy." At this time, Dustless's forehead was full of sweat. His eyes were full of surprise. He looked at the old guy in front of him and couldn't help but feel a little nervous. He gritted his teeth and said, "You're really strong, old guy. It's been a full 9 hours now." After hearing his words, Tun Alar Aluga Fulgaruxiu ignored his disrespectful tone and revealed a faint smile. He immediately said with a smile, "You're not bad yourself. You're also a very powerful guy. I didn't expect you to be able to fight me to this extent. At this time, even if Dustless unsealed 1/3 of his strength, it would still be difficult for him to withstand the terrifying power of space and the chess game that was constantly getting more and more powerful. He couldn't help but frown. Even if he could read the thoughts of the old guy in front of him, he couldn't keep up. However, he knew that he must keep up, or else he might be killed. With this thought in mind, he began to chat even more seriously. At this time, his mind was constantly filled with a lot of knowledge. He gritted his teeth and continued to play chess. The chess game between the two was getting faster and faster, and the flow of space was getting faster and faster. At this moment, he was sweating profusely. He knew that the time was almost up, but he also knew that this was the most difficult part because the formula was getting more and more dense and difficult to defend. He knew that if he couldn't hold on, he would definitely die. He must hold on to this wave of attack. He thought in his mind. More and more sweat on his nose. Although he was in half-immortal state, he couldn't stop the sweat from dripping. A hint of nervousness appeared in his eyes as he gritted his teeth and said, "You are indeed very powerful." Tun Alar Aluga Fulgaruxiu was just playing chess indifferently. There was no trace of pity in his eyes. To him, playing chess was the greatest pleasure, regardless of whether the opponent was a human, a magical beast, or something else. At this moment, the two of them were playing chess with all their might. After an unknown period of time, Wuchen directly knelt on the ground and coughed out a large mouthful of blood. It was the first time he had encountered something like vomiting blood while playing chess. Tunalur Fulgaruxiu said with a faint smile on his face, "I didn't expect to reach this point. Let me tell you another good news. Just now, Ulshikov wanted to kill you." Just as he finished speaking, Wu Chen's eyes immediately revealed some helplessness. He bitterly smiled and sighed. He was speechless as he said, "I didn't expect him to actually want to kill us. Forget it. Let's spare his life for the sake of boss." After saying that, he picked up the chess piece again and slammed it on the table. This time, the table became bigger again. Tunalur Aluka Fulgaruxiu's face revealed a deep sense of curiosity. He asked curiously, "Wait, even if that's the case, you still want to save his life? I'm going to win now. If you..." At this moment, Dustless's face showed a smile. He immediately played chess again. Then he said, "Don't treat me like a fool. I already know the rules. No matter how powerful you are, it's only a draw now. You can't win, and I won't lose now." When he finished speaking, Tunalur Aluga Fulgaruxiu suddenly revealed a surprised expression. He nodded and said, "You're really strong. You can go out now. You win. You've won this bet." At this moment, Dustless immediately breathed a sigh of relief. There was a bit of helplessness on his face. He finally won. He thought in his heart. If he continued to play, he would really die. His brain received too much information and calculated too much information. If he continued to gamble, he could only unlock more power, but it was also likely to cause great damage. He was already very grateful that he was still alive. He smiled bitterly and said with a sigh, "Thank you, Your Excellency. His life is saved, right?" As soon as he finished speaking, Tunalur Fulgaruxiu nodded and said, "His life is saved. You're very outstanding. You're the most outstanding human I've ever seen. Or rather, you're a creature close to a human. The energy in your body doesn't belong to a human. I'm very curious about what you are." As soon as he finished speaking, Dustless's face showed a smile and said, "What am I? Maybe you'll know in the future. I won't tell you now. In the future, I'll tell you everything, but you'll have to wait." Tun Alar El Aluga Fulgaruxiu suddenly laughed and said, "It's been a long time since I've talked so much with someone from the same dimension as me. It's really surprising. We'll meet again in the end. Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, Dustless nodded and took a deep breath before leaving. Chapter 8:10. Sea kings have an amazing sense of smell and are extremely sensitive to the smell of blood. As long as the blood drips into the sea, they will instinctively hunt for prey. Under the deep sea, once attacked by a large number of sea kings, even if Whitebeard comes in person, he won't be able to escape. This is completely a hopeless situation. This is their own fault. They didn't go to you, but they came to us to die. Akiji smiled. These hateful pirates sank their battleship and they deserved it. Pa pa pa. A few minutes later, huge ripples suddenly appeared on the calm water surface, and huge waves hit the shore, and the sound of the water washed the reef on the beach. Under the supervision of the Tensigan, he could clearly see countless black shadows gathering together. No wonder ancient weapons are known as weapons that can end the world. They deserve their reputation. Strange ripples appeared in his pupils. In the depths of the sea, the enormous sea kings that had gathered after smelling the scent of blood were at least 700 to 800 meters in size. There were even colossal creatures that were 3,000 to 4,000 meters in size. Imagine how terrible the consequences would be if one day a person had the ability to control the sea kings of the world. Ka ka ka. In the dark, Dustless seemed to hear the crisp sound of buildings being destroyed, and his eyes couldn't help but stagnate. Looking at the bottom of the sea, the pirate ship, which was not inferior to the Navy's large battleship, was directly swallowed by an unprecedented sea king. Even the ship and the people were all turned into ashes. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have done it, Akiji said with a blank expression. As an admiral, his observation haki is not at the peak, but it has reached the realm of being able to control it freely, and he can clearly feel the fear of the pirates in the depths of the sea. In the face of 3,000 or 4,000 meters, anyone will feel awe and tremble, especially under the sea. The combat effectiveness of the pirates is greatly reduced, and even less than 100. On the contrary, the Sea King's Combat Index report. This killing feast was almost one-sided, facing the big mouth of hundreds of meters long. Many pirate ships were directly swallowed in one breath. Blood stained the sea. This group of pirates is cunning enough. It's time to ask the fleet admiral for help. With a sigh, Akiji could only bow his head and admit defeat. They couldn't swim back to the headquarters. Although there were no casualties in the fleet, all the battleships were destroyed and all the crew was trapped on this island. They could only ask Sengoku for support. Originally, they were supposed to support other marine bases, but in the end, they needed Sengoku's help. Thinking about it, Akiji felt depressed. As for Dustless, he had already returned to his original spot and was calmly gnawing on the roasted meat. Akiji was more than enough to be the scapegoat. Rumble. In just a few seconds, Akiji contacted Sengoku and explained the reason for the matter. As he guessed, Sengoku was angry at first, and after he got all the pirates, he immediately agreed to send a ship to pick up the thousands of people. Send a warship to pick us up as soon as possible. Akiji sighed. When he was about to turn off the Den Den Mushi, a shadow suddenly appeared, and the Den Den Mushi in his hand disappeared. It's me. I have figured out the purpose of the old guy Whitebeard. Dustless, who took away Akiji's Den Den Mushi, said something amazing, and his eyes were shining against the black night sky. Are you sure? Marlin's eyes were shining, and his calm tone was hard to hide. So far, there is no trace of the Whitebeard pirates. Gorosei, 5 elder stars, have urged us several times. This guy is really shameless. Akiji, who was standing in the same place, was petrified on the spot. He scolded Dustless in his heart for being shameless. Now it's time to get credit. It's strange that there is a trace of the Whitebeard pirates. He is currently waiting for an opportunity. He let his pirates attack in large numbers just to attract the top battle power of the marine. After we are tired of dealing with it, he will wait for an opportunity to make a move. Wu Chen said resolutely, his tone revealing an indomitable determination. And the people who just sank our battleship were also involved in the Akagami, red hair, pirates. Sengoku's eyebrows were tightly wrinkled, and his heart was in his throat. He still had a chance to win against Whitebeard, but if he added the Akagami, red hair, pirates, it would be a suspense. The wolf's ambition is obvious. The only person who can be worthy of Whitebeard is Fire Fist Ace. Dustless said Whitebeard's purpose. It should be impossible for him to know about Fire Fist Ace, otherwise he would have already robbed him. Akiji frowned as he came over. If he knew that Fire Fist Ace was an Impel Down, he would be able to do it directly. Otherwise, it would be more difficult to rob him on the day of the Marine's public execution. Sengoku on the other side of the Den Mushi also nodded. A few days ago, Whitebeard really didn't know where Fire Fist Ace was hiding, but in recent days he knew. Dustless's expression was calm, and Garp's figure appeared in his mind. Garp went to Impel Down a few days ago, which is equivalent to releasing the signal that Fire Fist Ace is in Impel Down. Garp didn't know anyone in Impel Down, and the only one who suddenly went to Impel Down was Fire Fist Ace, who was caught by the Marine. Now Kazan and I are trapped. Sakazuki said that he was also attacked by pirates, and Borsellino is no exception. It is estimated that Garp and others are the same. The Marine's top battle power has all been restrained. It is estimated that it will not be long before Whitebeard gathers the power of all the pirates to attack Impel Down. Even if the war starts, we will not be able to deal with Whitebeard. Chapter 8:11. Now Kazan and I are trapped. Sakazuki said that he was also attacked by pirates, and Borsellino is no exception. It is estimated that Garp and others are also in the same situation. The Marine's top fighting power has all been restrained. It will not be long before Whitebeard will gather all the power of the pirates to attack Impel Down. Even if the war starts, we will not be able to deal with Whitebeard. Wuchen analyzed with a look of shrewdness, and the tone he revealed was correct. Sengoku's expression was stiff when he heard this. After a moment of contemplation, his expression changed sharply. His whole body trembled slightly. It was as if someone poured cold water on him. Akiji was the same. Although his expression was not as exaggerated as Sengoku, he also felt that the world in front of him was dark and the future road was dark. If it is really what Dustless guessed, Impel Down will definitely be broken by Whitebeard. This should just be your personal conjecture. Whitebeard shouldn't be that smart. Akiji said with an ugly face. His uncertain tone gave people the feeling that he was deceiving himself. Thinking about it, their strength is terrifying and unprecedented. If their IQ is high, their calculations are unparalleled, and they are interlinked, then the Marines are not far from death. The heavens were too unfair. No, Kazan, you don't know Whitebeard. I know him. He is that kind of cunning man. There is no such thing as the most cunning, only more cunning. On the other side of the Den Mushi, Fleet Admiral Sengoku roared. Obviously, he now realized that something was wrong. Others may not be so smart, but Whitebeard was an exception. This old guy's wisdom was extraordinary. He could roam the sea for decades without being caught. Whether it was the former Roger or the Golden Lion Shiki, they were all wandering around the world. Only Whitebeard was living so comfortably now. Jumping out to discuss the Marines. I will now let Garp and Sakazuki go to reinforce Impel Down. Sengoku said. A while ago, he gave a military order to the Gorosei, 5 Elder Stars, to guarantee the safe execution of Fire Fist Ace. If he is rescued by Whitebeard, the entire Marine will be completely discredited. In the future, it would be difficult for him to raise his head in front of the 5 honored stars. He would inevitably become the laughing stock of the entire world. Marlin's numerous Sengoku immediately cut off their conversation with Dustless and began using the Den Mushi to contact Garp, Sakazuki, and Borsellino. I hope we can make it in time. Akiji breathed a sigh of relief. In time? This is just your wishful thinking. It is estimated that when our battleship sank, the Whitebeard pirates began to act. Dustless's words made Akiji break out in a cold sweat. Regardless of what Akiji thought, Dustless continued, moreover, even if we can make it in time, no one can go there to support us. Isn't there still Garp and Sakazuki? I heard that Z-sensei is also on the move. Akiji smiled optimistically. I know, but you haven't considered who their enemy is. Dustless said solemnly. Among these people, Garp is undoubtedly the strongest so far. His strength is enough to rival the Yonko, 4 emperors. Akainu, Borsellino, and Z are all admirals. Red Hair Shanks is joining forces with Whitebeard. Dustless reminded Akiji when he saw that Akiji was slightly confused. If he didn't guess wrong, Red Hair Shanks is responsible for containing Garp and Sakazuki, and of course, all his pirates. Although the Red Hair pirates are few in number, they are extremely outstanding. Therefore, the Marines want to reinforce Impel Down, but they are powerless. Now, no one can stop them. All the Marines' top battle powers are almost restrained. Those guys are really despicable. Akiji's face couldn't help but dim, and his spirit was very decadent. Rumble, at this moment, Dustless's Den Den Mushi suddenly rang. The Den Den Mushi's expression was furious. Obviously, Marin Sengoku was about to go berserk. Red Hair, that damn kid, I should have destroyed him at all costs. Sengoku's roar resounded throughout the marine headquarters, and the lazy white clouds in the sky were evaporated by his flames. As Dustless guessed, Garp and Sakazuki, as well as Borsellino and Z, were all restrained by Akagami, Red Hair, pirates, with the help of other pirates from the New World. Dustless expressed his understanding of Sengoku's indignation. He was an insignificant pawn in the past, and now he has grown into a big problem. He must be regretting it. I expected this. Red Hair Shanks and Whitebeard always wear the same pair of pants. This is also the result of Fire Fist Ace's particularity. Whitebeard is Roger's best friend and enemy, and Red Hair Shanks is Roger's crew. Roger is indebted to Red Hair, so it's reasonable for him to help Red Hair. All in all, the favorable situation is now all in favor of the pirates, and so is the scale of victory. It seems that Impel Down can't be defended. Sengoku's tone was pessimistic, full of endless emotion and loneliness, as if he was abandoned by the whole world. He and Whitebeard fought for a lifetime, and in the end, Whitebeard was slightly better. Fleet Admiral, you don't have to be so pessimistic. Everyone has 1 head and 2 arms. Whitebeard is not more special than us. He can use his brain to frame the Marines, and we can do the same to Whitebeard. The corners of Wu Chen's mouth curled into a strange smile, which was particularly horrifying. Chapter 8:12. Designing to harm people is not exclusive to Whitebeard. If he can do it, Marine can naturally do it too. Hearing Wu Chen's words, Sengoku's face was full of hope. He grasped the only life-saving straw and asked eagerly, Whitebeard, that old guy is cunning and changeable. He can do what people can't do. It's as difficult as ascending to heaven to plot against him. Obviously, I can't tell you how to deal with Whitebeard, but you have to make such a difficult tone. At this time, you still want to play hard to get. Dustless shook his head and secretly scolded Sengoku for being shameless. Since Whitebeard has made a move, then we can only passively take it. Counting on the veterans of Impel Down, it's estimated that it's not enough to fill the gap between his teeth. The battle power of Impel Down's army is less than half of Whitebeard's. Since the admirals can't get out, they can use the power of Shichibukai. Dustless suggested softly. This, Sengoku's eyes flashed with hesitation and changed quickly. Fire Fist Ace is lost, the loss of face is even greater, and it will be difficult for Marine to raise their heads in the future. Dustless saw through Sengoku's thoughts. Sengoku wanted nothing more than to use Marine's power to deal with Whitebeard. Using the power of Shichibukai in a great victory will have more flaws in Sengoku's eyes. Blackbeard can't wait to take Whitebeard's life. Moonlight Moria also wants Whitebeard's body even in his dreams. As for Bartholomew Ursa, he is simply the government's lackey. These people don't need orders. As long as you say it, they will probably rush to deal with Whitebeard. Of course, it's not enough to count on the 3 of them. Whitebeard is known as the strongest man in the world. The 3 of them together are not Whitebeard's opponents, and they are facing the entire Whitebeard pirates. If they want to rely on the 3 of them, they will be doomed. Maybe Blackbeard will take the opportunity to run away. We can provoke the people inside the Whitebeard pirates. His group of sons also have ulterior motives. They can completely provoke dissension and plot against Whitebeard. Dustless's face was filled with killing intent as he smiled coldly. Killing someone did not necessarily have to be done personally. There were countless ways to defeat the other party. The key was how to use them. For an Iron Man like Whitebeard, the physical pain was far less severe than the betrayal of his family. Dustless still clearly remembers that during the later War of the Best, Sakazuki's Akainu instigated the Whitebeard pirates to severely injure him. Although the location and format were different, it was worth a try. That's right. That guy named Squard seems to have a lot of opinions about Fire Fist Ace. We can use him. In this way, we may be able to defeat Whitebeard without any losses. Sengoku sneered, and his eyes were glowing with the light of choosing people to devour, which was particularly terrifying. The Pirate King Gold Roger once killed Squard's family. That Squard didn't know the true identity of Ace. We can tell him through secret channels. After adding fuel to the fire, let Squard plot against Whitebeard. The silent Akiji's face was complicated. There was a huge deviation between Marine's justice and his ideal, and as time went on, the deviation would get bigger and bigger. On the blue sea, the giant pirates cut through the thorns and rushed forward in the direction of Impel Down. There was a skull flag hanging on the hull of the unknown ship, and there were two clearly visible thick beards. It was the Whitebeard pirates that had disappeared for a long time. I thought that Akagami, red hair, would do something. It turned out to be such a ridiculous trick. Diamond Jozu had already received news from Akagami, red hair, that Dustless and Akiji were both pinned down and could not support Impel Down for the time being. Of course, it was not Dustless and Akiji, but the entire marine, unless Sengoku himself rushed to Impel Down. Jozu, Whitebeard's eyes were full of love, and they were instantly replaced by a sense of oppression. He said loudly, completing the task at the cost of minimal casualties is worthy of respect and learning. Some strategies are often ugly and ridiculous, but the effect is often unexpected. In this way, we can finally rescue Ace. Marco breathed a sigh of relief, and his tone was a little relaxed. These days, he had been living in the haze of Ace's capture. Not only him, but the entire Whitebeard pirates should say the same thing. Thanks to Father's strategy. Diamond Jozu said from the bottom of his heart. The current situation was entirely due to Whitebeard's series of plans. That's for sure. After all, Father used to be as famous as One Piece, Roger and Golden Lion Shiki, and he was invincible in all aspects. Marco also agreed. Whitebeard looked at this scene with no expression on his face, but he kept pouring wine into his mouth. As a captain, he must always maintain absolute wisdom. However, the pride and joy hidden in the corner of Whitebeard's eyes were difficult to hide. Being able to play the entire Marine headquarters, and even the entire world government including Gorosei, 5 Elder Stars, even his close friend and enemy Roger did not do it. Chapter 8:13. Being able to play the entire Marine headquarters and even the entire world government including the Gorosei, 5 Elder Stars, even his best friend and enemy Roger couldn't do it. Whitebeard's pride is understandable. The huge pirate ship sneaked all the way without any hindrance. The Marines they encountered were also destroyed by them. The high-level Marines rushed to all over the world to perform tasks. They didn't encounter any obstacles along the way. They were like fish in water. Unlike in the past, this time Whitebeard didn't take Moby Dick, but chose other pirate ships in a low-key manner. On the one hand, Moby Dick's goal was too big, and it was tantamount to revealing the truth of the plan. All over the world, even the Moby Dick was Whitebeard's own ship, and there was no one else besides it. Even the Rear Admiral-level characters are rarely encountered. Oyaji, this time we will succeed. Diamond Jozu grinned and his words were full of excitement. Being able to save Fire Fist Ace, and being able to slap the face of the entire Marine, suppressing their arrogance is the best. Whitebeard himself is already in his twilight years, and he must win to improve the prestige of the Whitebeard pirates, and give those rascals a shock and color to see. Especially one of the Yonko, 4 emperors, Big Mom. A few years ago, because of the Fruit of Darkness, the 4th Division Captain Thatcher fell, and the initiator was Big Mom and her pirates. Whitebeard didn't hesitate to put his life on the line. It would be best if he defeated Big Ma and destroyed the island she once occupied, so that the pirates on both sides would unite. As long as there was an opportunity, Charlotte Linling, this ferocious viper, would launch a fatal sneak attack. Putting Moby Dick in the base before going to sea will not only deter the enemy, but also play a role in confusing them. After all, this time they suddenly attacked Impel Down. They can't take all the fleet, they can only take all the elites. There are still many members of the Whitebeard pirates stationed on the original island. Rumble, at this moment, the unexpected Den Den Mushy rang, that red-haired kid? Turning his head and looking at the slightly anxious Den Den Mushy, Whitebeard's heart thumped and suddenly realized that something was wrong. Red Hair Shanks will not contact him if there is no major event. Unknowingly, he picked up the phone. Sure enough, as Whitebeard expected, there was a message from Nightmare. Shichibukai, who were mobilized by Marine, also headed in the direction of Impel Down. As Dustless had guessed before, Blackbeard and Gecko Moria participated in the encirclement and suppression operation. The news that Whitebeard quietly left the island base was like a ripple on the surface of the water. Under the careful production of the warring states, it spread to every corner of the world in an instant. The truth of a secret operation was revealed to the world. Sengoku also listened to Dustless's suggestion. He first used the power in his hands to make Whitebeard's secret actions public. He used projection Den Den Mushy and broadcast Den Den Mushy to every place in the new world that the Marine can reach. Whitebeard, on the other side of the Den Den Mushy, Red Hair Shanker's dignified voice was filled with unprecedented seriousness, which made Whitebeard's heart jump to his throat. The Red Hair pirates are now restraining the high-end battle power of the Marine. In such an embarrassing environment, they can still use Den Den Mushy to contact him, which indirectly shows the seriousness of the situation. The Marine has seen through your plan. They have made the whole world boil. You have worked hard on this secret operation. All the places that the Marine can reach know, and this news is spreading at lightning speed. It won't be long before the whole world knows about it, Red Hair Shank said in a very depressed tone. Is that all? There's no need to worry about such trivial things, Red Hair. Whitebeard's heart relaxed, and he didn't care about it and laughed. A pirate's life is always accompanied by danger. A pirate who is overcautious has no future. Compared to Whitebeard, Red Hair Shanks is at most a junior. This is not a trivial matter. Red Hair on the other side of the Den Den Mushy frowned with warning. So what? The fake Moby Dick is wandering in my base, and no one dares to provoke it. The pirates who hear the news will only think that the Marine is talking nonsense, and the purpose is to cause the pirates to kill each other. Whitebeard said calmly. Fabricating news out of thin air to cause others to kill each other is a trick that the Marine often uses, and it's known all over the world. It's not that I'm overcautious, but you're underestimating the Marine's means. Red Hair raised his voice, and instead of reducing his vigilance, he became more and more intense. Don't forget, there are many guys who want your head. Whitebeard frowned, and when he was about to open his mouth to educate Red Hair, another Den Den Mushy beside him rang. Coincidentally, this white Den Den Mushy also showed an unprecedented state of anxiety, giving people a feeling of panic. These young people still need to be tempered. Wait a minute, Red Hair. The moment he picked up the Den Den Mushy, he didn't wait for Whitebeard to ask, and the eagerness made everyone stunned, including Whitebeard's face. Oyaji, our base was attacked by one of the Yonko, 4 emperors. Chapter 8:14. Oyaji, our base was attacked by Big Momo, one of the Yonko, 4 emperors. This sentence didn't disperse in Whitebeard's mind for a long time, it echoed back and forth forever, as if he was possessed. His mind was filled with this paragraph and his thoughts were in a mess. Frankly speaking, Whitebeard doesn't care about the gain or loss of an island. Like red hair Shanks, he likes to live a wandering life. But now the situation is different. As we all know, the size of the Whitebeard pirates add up to thousands of people. This attack on Impel Down is a top-secret operation, and it is tantamount to exposing the target. Naturally, not all of the crew can be activated, only a small number of elite crew members can be selected, and the other sons, Whitebeard has placed them in temporary bases. In other words, all the elites are now concentrated on this ship, and most of the remaining are weak, and it is impossible to fight against Big Momo with them. A melee, Big Momo, that despicable old woman dares to play this game with me? Whitebeard's angry roar resounded through the sky, and visible cracks appeared in the surrounding space, erupting with destructive waves. The clouds floating in the sky disintegrated instantly, and the invaded sea instantly formed big waves, spreading rapidly, swallowing the surrounding islands. Don't forget, a few years ago, you almost killed Charlotte Linling. Women are very vengeful. Now that she has seized the opportunity, it is very likely that she will eradicate your pirates. Red Hair Shanks, on the other side of the den Mushy, whispered after hearing Whitebeard's roar, and his tone was vaguely persuasive. Wipe them out? She is just a stray dog. Whitebeard roared, and the sword in his hand also felt Whitebeard's anger, making a burst of clear sound, and a supreme killing intent went straight to the sky. Caw caw caw, accompanied by a loud rumble, a dazzling crack appeared in the dark sky. The distant sky looked as if it had been torn apart by someone. It was terrifying and sinister. The endless netherworld abyss seemed to be the tomb of all creatures, and the flying insects and beasts passing through the sky made bursts of whining, as if begging for mercy. Even though this body has reached its limit, it's as easy as flipping my hand to exterminate her. Whitebeard said in a sonorous and arrogant manner. Although there was a suspicion of exaggeration, in the case of going all out, even if he couldn't kill Baigu Mamu, he could still seriously injure her. This was where Whitebeard's confidence came from. That was before. Don't forget, you are still on the way to Impel Down, and Big Mama is slaughtering your crew. Do you think Big Mama will feel helpless against them? Shank's voice came from the other side of the den Mushy. Seeing that Whitebeard was so stubborn, he decided to be frank. Let's stop here, Whitebeard. Maybe if you don't hesitate to attack Impel Down now, you can save Fire Fist, but your remaining crew will be killed. Baigu Mamu hates you to the core, she will definitely not show any mercy. Fearing that Whitebeard would not listen to him due to his fever, the red-haired Shanks continued to raise his voice, giving people a feeling of hysteria. Whitebeard heard this and fell into a dilemma. For a time, he was in a dilemma. If he attacked Impel Down with all his strength, he may be able to save Fire Fist Ace, but the thousands of crew members left in the original base will certainly not escape the claws of Baigu Mamu. As the red-haired Shank said, a few years ago, the former Whitebeard did not hesitate to hit Baigu Mamu and let her escape from the New World. The entire pirate ship was almost destroyed. Therefore, Baigu Mamu's hatred for Whitebeard is self-evident. Don't tell me you're going to ignore Ace? Whitebeard roared, showing a deep struggle in his words, and at the same time, his hatred for Baigu Mamu soared. It was his biggest mistake not to kill her. So today, this kind of thing happened. This is also helpless, the red-haired Shank sighed. He could also understand the sadness in Whitebeard's heart. He softly persuaded, take a step back. My subordinates have inquired that the Marine headquarters is changing equipment on a large scale. All the old mechanisms have been replaced. That is to say, the Marine is not ready to execute Ace. He will be safe for a while. Hearing this, Whitebeard pondered for a moment. Even though he was unwilling, he gently nodded and said with a pale face, that stupid woman Bigu Ma can't be so smart. Someone must have told her that I secretly left the Moby Dick. That's why she took the opportunity to attack. Whitebeard suddenly flashed in his mind and said, Marine, it must be that bastard Sengoku. Sengoku? Not necessarily, he didn't even leave the Marine headquarters. It's impossible for him to know so much. It may be one of those admirals. The red-haired Shanks flashed in the sun, and in his deep shining eyes, a young silhouette was vaguely reflected. His black hair was messy like weeds, his face was handsome and cheap, and his mouth always had a smile like a spring breeze, giving people a feeling of unusual frivolity. However, that outlined smile was a nightmare in the eyes of the red-haired man. To some extent, it was more like the smile of the Grim Reaper. Anyone who was targeted by Dustless could not escape the fate of life and death in the end. Even if they were lucky enough to escape his pursuit, they also lived in endless fear, living a life worse than death. Chapter 8:15. Anyone who was targeted by Dustless could not escape the fate of life and death in the end. Even if they were lucky enough to escape his pursuit, they also lived in endless fear, living a life worse than death. Although it was just an unfounded guess, Red Hair Shanks was very sure that even if the instigator behind this had nothing to do with Dustless, it was definitely related to him. What is your final choice? Abandon Fire Fist, or choose to walk down the dark path and save him at all costs? Throwing the complicated thoughts out of his mind, the red-haired Shanks asked straightforwardly. Whitebeard looked stiff and bowed his head in silence. He was reluctant to give up Ace, but he was also reluctant to give up his other sons. Even if he has mixed feelings, he can't hide the helplessness in his heart. For the first time in his life, Whitebeard felt that life was so hard. If I were you, I would definitely have a headache like you. This strategy is really vicious. On the other side of the den mushy, Shanks's sympathetic voice was heard. If he chose, he would fall into the same embarrassing situation as Whitebeard. There are obviously two paths to choose from, but it doesn't lead to the light after the rain, but to the endless abyss of despair. It seems that I can only retract my troops. Damn marine bastards, and that old woman. I will definitely settle this account with you. Whitebeard chose to give up the mission. He is the father of the entire Whitebeard pirates. He can't sacrifice everyone because of Ace. It would be too unfair and chilling. A pirate group that makes everyone feel chilled means that they are close to collapse. He can only turn the unwillingness in his heart into hatred for the Marines and Big Mom. He secretly vowed that one day in the future, he will make them pay with their blood. Oyaji, the Impel Down is close at hand, and it's just around the corner. Marco clenched his fist and his face was full of unwillingness. So was Diamond Jozu. His body was trembling, and his breathing was several times faster than usual. Although I am sorry for the brothers who died. But Oyaji, you also understand. The Whitebeard pirates can't do without Ace at present. Diamond Jot said in a heavy tone, his words hinting at something else. In addition to the importance of Fire Fist Ace, there are other factors. Ace's bounty has reached 550 million berries and he will inevitably support the Whitebeard pirates in the future. This important figure cannot be lost. The stage of the Whitebeard pirates cannot be without Ace. This group of people. Hearing this, the Maelstrom Spider, Squard, quietly left. His eyes flashed with sadness. He knew the importance of Ace. In the future, he would be the pillar of the Whitebeard pirates, but so what? Sacrificing the others for his life and abandoning the rest of the crew was too cruel. Squard felt that the scene was too depressing. He walked to the stern alone and breathed in the salty sea breeze. The bright and beautiful sun gradually receded, and the breeze gradually became cold. It was biting cold and bone-piercing, and one could faintly hear the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves. It's getting cold. Squard noticed that his body was cold and turned back to the cabin. Suddenly, he heard a burst of messy footsteps. He frowned slightly and looked towards the source of the footsteps. A pirate with a messy look hurriedly ran over. What is it? It's not good to be so reckless. Squard's eyes flashed with coldness. He immediately looked at the golden den mushy in his hand and asked, whose den mushy is this? The Whitebeard pirates don't seem to have this kind of den mushy. It seems to be the Marines. I don't know. This golden den mushy appeared out of thin air in your cabin like a ghost. At that time, I didn't see anyone picking it up, so I brought it to you. The pirate who ran over panted. He handed the den mushy to Squard. Rumble, the mysterious den mushy suddenly rang. The den mushy opened its eyes and looked directly at Squard's face. The latter trembled and an invisible pressure filled him. There was an inexplicable voice in his heart that warned him not to pick it up. He reflexively picked up the den mushy and was about to throw it into the sea when he accidentally touched the button on the den mushy. "Oh, hello. I am Marine Admiral Royce Nan." An indifferent voice came out of the golden den mushy. Squard's expression solidified and doubts arose in his heart. He had no interaction with an admiral. He had never heard of this general named Louis South before. He thought that it was a lie, but a young figure suddenly appeared in his mind. "Is it him?" Thinking of Dustless's figure, Squard said coldly, "If you have something to say, as a Marine Admiral, I hope you don't say stupid things like asking me to plot against my father." "Of course not, this kind of vulgar provocation, only a villain like Sakazuki would do it. I just came to tell you a story or to pass on a message," Dustless said mysteriously on the other side of the den mushy. "Pass on a message? This joke isn't funny at all. Who can ask an admiral to pass on a message? Gorosei or celestial dragons?" Squard said sarcastically. "It's not them. You are familiar with the people who begged me to pass on a message." Suddenly, Dustless's voice was like a black hole in the depths of the universe that could devour everything. It instantly attracted Squard's attention. "The people who asked me to pass the message are from the Kingdom of Heaven. They are the crew members who used to be your brothers but were unfortunately annihilated by Roger, the Pirate King." Chapter 8:16. Dustless's voice was like a black hole in the depths of the universe that can swallow everything and instantly attracted Squard's mind. "The people who asked me to pass the message, they are from heaven. They were the crew who were brothers with you in the past and were unfortunately annihilated by the Pirate King Roger." Squard was disappointed when he heard this. He thought it was a big secret and felt like he was being played. He roared angrily, showing the rude side of every pirate. "Pass a message from the underworld for the companions who had disappeared? Do you think I am an idiot? Even if you want to tease people, you can't do it so casually." Squard said, getting angrier and angrier. He shouted, "The one who can pass the message is an angel." Hearing this, Dustless on the other side of the den mushy said, "If you want me to turn into an angel, I don't care, but I prefer to turn into a demon than an angel. I feel that this profession is more suitable for me. Don't push your luck." Squard's mouth twitched fiercely as he cursed in his heart. He had never seen such a person who liked to take advantage of others. "If you have something to say, say it." Squard snorted and waved impatiently. Although his words were firm, Dustless still heard the eagerness in Squard's tone. This guy wanted to know the secret of Fire Fist Ace. Fire Fist Ace can be regarded as the number 2 figure in the Whitebeard Pirates. Whitebeard valued him very much, even more than Marco and Diamond Jozu who joined in advance. "What do you want to say?" Holding the den mushy in his hand, he seemed to have guessed Squard's words. "As a Marine Admiral, I hope you don't tell me that Ace is the son of the Pirate King. This joke is not funny. If he is the son of the Pirate King, then I am your Marine Fleet Admiral's blood-related son. You think it's ridiculous?" A casual rhetorical question made Squard's face freeze, and he couldn't laugh even if he wanted to. Dustless continued, "In my opinion, because he is Roger's son, Whitebeard treats him with care. This can also explain everything reasonably." "That's just your personal guess." Squard immediately retorted loudly. His firm tone gave people a feeling of being inflexible. But in Dustless's ears, it sounded like self-deception. This is not speculation. Dustless's eyes were like torches, and his voice was filled with shrewdness and wisdom, making people involuntarily convinced and unable to extricate themselves. The relationship between Whitebeard and Roger is known to the world. It's reasonable to take care of his son. You don't have any evidence, don't spout nonsense. Especially a Marine Admiral, don't make a fool of yourself. You have a good reputation in the New World, don't ruin your image in my heart." Squard's tone was full of anger, as if he had been greatly insulted and couldn't wait to throw away the golden den mushy in his hand. Since you respect me so much, it's really surprising. A hint of surprise flashed across Dustless's eyes. He continued to smile and said, but since you are my fan, I don't mind helping you. If you don't trust me, you can ask Whitebeard directly. You'd better not sow discord. At this point, Squard's mouth stopped, and his throat seemed to be blocked. Thousands of words gathered in his heart and he couldn't say them. It was particularly uncomfortable. He could only yell at Dustless to cover up his irritable heart. I'm just stating the facts. Hearing this, Dustless's mouth raised a conspiratorial smile. From this impatient tone, it could be heard that Squard's state of mind was in a mess. If you want to destroy someone, you must first make them crazy. This is the immutable truth. It seems that I can make him defect with just one step. Dustless laughed in his heart. For Fire Fist Ace, it doesn't matter how much you sacrifice. Anyway, you are just subordinates of the Whitebeard pirates, not the real core members. Dustless's voice is full of magic, constantly devouring and squeezing the reason in Squard's heart and attacking his psychological defenses. The core fleet of the Whitebeard pirates has a total of 16 divisions, and most of the others are affiliated with the Whitebeard pirates. Father can't be as ruthless as you say. Squard's tone was affirmative, but Dustless's ears were weak. With a chuckle, Dustless continued, you can ask Whitebeard whether it's true or not. Fire Fist, Ace is the son of One Piece. This is an unchangeable fact. Dustless said powerfully, and without waiting for Squard to respond, he directly hung up the den mushy. Once the Pirate King, Roger, wiped out Squard's pirates, and there were even rumors that his parents were buried in Roger's hands, so the two sides had an irreconcilable hatred. Roger is dead, and as the saying goes, the son pays the father's debt. This continued hatred naturally fell on Ace's head, especially the words of Marco and Diamond Jozu, which had deeply touched Squard. It can be seen that Ace's identity is obviously not good, at least he has an inextricable relationship with Whitebeard. Otherwise, Whitebeard would not save him at all costs and even ignore the lives of others. Father, I hope that Marine Admiral is wrong, otherwise. Squard picked up the sharp general in his hand and walked towards Whitebeard with heavy steps. Chapter 8:17. Will it work or not? Although it's a bit hasty, it's also worth looking forward to. I love to see a father and son killing each other. On the desolate island, Akiji looked at the deep stars in the sky while lying on a clean and smooth rock. The Marines around him were like him, casually finding a place to sleep. When Dustless used den mushy to bewitch Squard, Akiji was listening next to him. It doesn't matter if it succeeds or not, it doesn't matter anyway, just treat it as after-dinner entertainment. Compared to Akiji, Dustless was more casual. After learning the truth, if he was lucky, Squard might be able to hurt Whitebeard. If he was unlucky, he would definitely be captured on the spot. In short, whether it succeeds or not, it won't take Whitebeard's life. As time passed, the sky was getting darker and darker. The beautiful night sky was particularly quiet, and the biting cold wind rarely stopped. It was almost late at night, and only Whitebeard was sitting alone on the deck drinking. Pirates were rude by nature, and they didn't know how to be gentle and elegant, so they simply picked up the wine jar and poured it into their mouths. They were very happy. Squard walked close to Whitebeard with heavy steps, looking at the old man in the wind. His heart was complicated. Oyaji, remembering what Dustless had mentioned before, Squard summoned up the courage to say it. He looked at Whitebeard with eyes full of firmness and trust. He didn't believe that Whitebeard would lie to them. It turned out to be you, Squard. Whitebeard's old eyes were clear, and he once again restored his former wisdom and kindness, and said in a rather kind tone, you have been with the Whitebeard pirates for some time, probably for decades. His eyes gradually became distant, and he recalled the good times of the past. Whitebeard's tone was particularly old, and now he suddenly looked back. He was already 50 years old. Yes, Squard's throat choked, and the words that were about to come out of his mouth were stuffed back again. Suddenly, Dustless's figure and his words flashed in his mind, and his hesitation turned into determination. You came to me in the middle of the night. You should have something to say, Squard, we are father and son. If you have something to say, just say it, there is no need to hide it. Whitebeard pretended to be unhappy, but his words revealed his friendliness. Hearing this, Squard nodded and said in a deep voice, why is Oyaji so obsessed with Ace? He treats him even better than Marco and Jozu. After that, Squard stared at Whitebeard with his burning eyes. Ace is a little different from others. A look of surprise flashed across Whitebeard's face. He did not expect Squard to ask this question, so he said unnaturally. He quietly looked at Squard and instinctively felt that something was wrong. Why do you ask this question? Did you hear any bad news? Is there someone behind the scenes? Squard. Throughout his life, Whitebeard had not only trained his absolute strength, but he had also trained his unique wisdom. His pair of shrewd eyes rarely made mistakes in judging people. Squard hesitated for a moment, and after a moment of contemplation, he remembered Whitebeard's trust in him and took out the golden Den Mushi that he used to contact Dustless. This is the Den Mushi of the Marine Admiral named Royce South. It inexplicably appeared in my cabin, and my men happened to meet it and send it over. Without the slightest concealment, Squard answered truthfully. It coincides with Akagami's guess, I didn't expect it to be him. Taking the golden Den Mushi from Squard, the doubts in Whitebeard's eyes turned into understanding, and then he looked directly at Squard, his wise eyes were full of reason. What did he say to you? It should be about Ace. He instigated us father and son to kill each other. Don't believe him, it's that man's inferior strategy. Whitebeard's face was full of sarcasm. Squard naturally wouldn't blindly believe what Dustless said. He glanced at Whitebeard and whispered, he said that Ace is the son of One Piece, Roger, and his father is going to sacrifice the lives of all the people on the ship to save Ace. When mentioning Roger, Squard's voice was abnormally heavy, and his eyes were full of killing intent. I knew it, he will definitely instigate the relationship between us father and son. Whitebeard's face flashed with a strange color, and he avoided the main point and talked about the relationship between Ace and Roger directly. Silence was tantamount to admission, and it was equivalent to Whitebeard tacitly admitting the relationship between Ace and Roger. Squard, I know the hatred between you and Roger, but the past is like the wind, I hope you and Ace can resolve the hatred, Whitebeard sincerely advised Squard as he scrutinized his face. Perhaps it was because of a moment of carelessness or because he trusted Squard too much, Whitebeard did not notice the scarlet demonic light in Squard's eyes. His eyes were blood red, and he felt like he had turned into a hellish Shura. His breathing was abnormally heavy, and the emotion of revenge spread and filled the nerves in Squard's mind. Squard picked up the big sword in his hand and jumped up, and he directly slashed at Whitebeard's head. This sudden state happened too fast, and everything happened in a flash. When Whitebeard realized it, it was already too late, and the sharp sword full of sawtooth touched his chest. Chapter 8:18. Recommend this book to everyone, Naruto's Almighty Master, it's a good book. Whitebeard didn't expect that his son, who had respected him for many years, would attack him like a blood enemy, and his means were extremely ruthless and cold. He directly stabbed his heart in his chest. He wanted to kill Whitebeard with one blow, and it could also be seen how deep Squard's hatred for Whitebeard was. Clang clang clang, the crisp roar fell, and it was different from the flesh being pierced and cut into pieces. This was similar to the sound of steel collision, and the effect was as magical as the elixir. It went deep into Squard's soul and pulled him back to his thoughts. The blood in his eyes also converged. Looking at the tip of the sword inserted into Whitebeard's chest, Squard didn't react. He rubbed his eyes and thought it was an illusion caused by high tension. Such a short distance, and he can still resist with armament hockey. Squard's face was ugly. He gambled on a fatal blow, but it didn't hurt or itch for Whitebeard. Looking up, Whitebeard's face didn't change, and there was no reaction at all. It was an invisible mockery of his weakness. Squard. I know you are unwilling. It is undeniable that I usually deal with some things, and I do favor Ace, but I treat you as my sons, and there is no distinction between high and low. The big sword in Whitebeard's hand danced quickly. Under the moonlight, it was particularly sharp, and it could cut iron like mud. Squard closed his eyes and quietly waited for disappointment to come. He didn't feel regret. He hated One Piece. Now that Fire Fist Ace was the son of his enemy, Squard naturally hated him too. After waiting for a long time, his head didn't move. He opened his eyes and looked at Whitebeard. Looking down at Squard with his broad body, Whitebeard restrained his killing intent. Finally, the broadsword in his hand fell. This son had been with him for decades. Whitebeard couldn't kill him today even if he wanted to assassinate him. In the final analysis, it was all Dustless's instigation. Royce South. The hatred between us has deepened. Whitebeard said hoarsely, and the big sword in his hand was more dazzling. The cold air around it was more penetrating, and people didn't dare to look directly at it. Plop. Looking at Whitebeard's posture, Squard couldn't bear it and fell to the ground. His forehead was oozing with cold sweat. Whitebeard took a step forward. Squard thought that he would completely kill him, but unexpectedly, Whitebeard stretched out his big warm hand. 3 days later, in the afternoon, the chaotic world regained its tranquility, and the situation was clear. Whitebeard returned to the island where he was originally stationed, and Big Mam slipped away in advance, leaving only the corpses on the ground. The entire Whitebeard pirates were ruined by Big Mam. There were even many people who were brutally dismembered before their corpses could even be found. The furious Whitebeard immediately led the entire pirate regiment to fight with Big's mom. Compared with her reckless self a few years ago, Big's mom is undoubtedly much smarter now. She knows that Whitebeard is old and there is no need to fight with her to the death, so she retreats. The Whitebeard pirates didn't get much advantage. Marlin's Marine Headquarters. That bastard Gecko Moria really can't be trusted, or else will suffer heavy losses. In the Fleet Admiral's office, Sengoku slammed the table angrily, and a crack visible to the naked eye appeared. He yelled, "That bastard's words are tantamount to fart out of thin air. You can't believe him at all." Gecko Moria once promised to deal with Whitebeard, but in the end, he didn't even see a ghost. The only Shichibukai who really came were Blackbeard and Bartholomew. This time, I almost fell into Whitebeard's trap. Thinking of Whitebeard, Sengoku said fortunately. If it wasn't for Dustless to see through his strategy and secretly instigate Squard, and finally instigate the war between Big's mom and Whitebeard, I'm afraid the Marine would be doomed. What should we do with Gecko Moria? Akainu asked hoarsely, with a blazing killing intent in his voice. People who don't have a firm stance should be eradicated early. They will only use the rights given to them by the Marine. Expecting him to help the Marine is a dream. Gecko Moria always wanted revenge. More than 10 years ago, the New World's Moria pirates fought against 100 Beast Kaido, but they were hit hard by the latter's overwhelming strength. Since then, they have been unable to recover and have been doing nothing for more than 10 years. Until today, Gecko Moria has not risen. Even if you want to take back the title of Shichibukai, there is no need to take it now. When we execute Ace, we can force him to participate. It's not too late to kill him after that. This is also a waste. Dustless said with a distant look. Although Gecko Moria's strength is average, in the future war, it is still very useful to deal with the Whitebeard pirates. It's not too late to kill him. Let that waste live for a while. Akainu's eyes flashed away, and then he sat on the sofa with his eyes closed. Obviously, he acquiesced to Dustless's approach. Even if they destroy Gecko Moria, it's time to squeeze his value. Sengoku and others also have the same view. For pirates like Gecko Moria, they must not be soft-hearted. Once he has no value, what awaits him will be death or forever being locked in a place like Impel Down. Who let Gecko Moria go against them? In Sengoku's view, this is his own cocoon and he can't blame others. Chapter 8:19. Sengoku and others also have the same view. For pirates like Gecko Moria, they must not be soft-hearted. Once he has no use value, what awaits him will be death or forever being locked in a place like Impel Down. Who let Gecko Moria go against them? In Sengoku's view, this is his own fault and he can't blame others. But then again, Whitebeard chose to let go of Squard. Akiji was quite surprised. A person who wanted to end his life, Whitebeard can still smile and forget about it. This courage is indeed worthy of respect. His eyes subconsciously looked at Sengoku. These two men are from the same era, but their temperaments are completely opposite. Compared with the King of the Sea, Whitebeard, Sengoku is too narrow-minded and usually likes to talk nonsense. Well, he's just putting on a show. No wonder that man's pirates declined so fast. He, as a captain, has to take great responsibility first. Fleet Admiral Sengoku said righteously, his face was not red and he was not panting. Dustless and others rolled their eyes, but this is also an undeniable fact. The Whitebeard pirates are indeed in danger now. This time, Bigga's mom dared to take the risk of a raid to explain everything. Whitebeard is now just a critically ill tiger. Over the years, the sea has been relatively quiet, and Whitebeard has also lived in seclusion. Even many pirates have forgotten about him. It's no wonder that Marines started with this critically ill tiger. What about Garp? His eyes quietly spread. Sengoku saw Garp disappear and asked with some doubts. He received 2 apprentices a while ago, one is called Corby, and the other is called Bella Mabo. Recently, it seems that he has been training them both. Looking out of the window, on the spacious playground, the lonely Garp came into view, and his 2 new apprentices. This time, the reason why Fire Fist Ace was exposed and Impel Down was because of Garp. Whether it was intentional or not, he couldn't get away with it. His eyes turned back and fell on Sengoku's head again. He saw that his face was full of helplessness. Obviously, Sengoku was also caught in the same difficult choice as Whitebeard. The affairs of the world are unpredictable. That old man can be considered as a tragedy. Dustless sighed as he lamented the fickle affairs of the world. Garp's experience really makes people feel the twists and turns of fate. 2 grandsons and 1 son have stepped on the opposite side of him. Especially Ace is about to be publicly executed by the Marine. Garp's heart is very uncomfortable, but he is a Marine, so he can only choose to stare. On the other hand, Garp stood firmly on this side. He was destined to treat Fire Fist Ace coldly. How comical, Dustless sighed as he looked at Garp's aged figure on the training field. Comical? None of them seemed to understand what Dustless was talking about. They were all confused, but they could all see the doubt in each other's eyes. They looked at Dustless with confused eyes. Everyone has their own position, and their belief has never changed. However, in my opinion, this is just a form of self-restraint. How can a creature like a human be restrained by one's position? What should be done, and do as one pleases. Otherwise, one would become like Garp. Dustless whispered to himself in his heart, looking at Garp on the field below, he couldn't help but shake his head. Garp's feelings in his heart were naturally to save Ace from prison, but he was restrained by the ridiculous thing of his position. If he took action in the war of the future generations, maybe Fire Fist Ace would have escaped from prison. There is no need to be bound by his position. He can do things according to his own heart. He can judge a thing according to his own emotions. After a while, he silently retracted his gaze. Dustless once again restored his previous calm. Ace's life and death, as well as Garp's current sentimentality, have nothing to do with him. For the Marine and even for this world, Dustless is just an outsider. There is no need to worry about these trivial things. The relationship between Sengoku and Garp is known to the world. He is not in a hurry, so Dustless doesn't need to be in a hurry. Within the mysterious ocean, everything within a radius of a few dozen kilometers was dark and gloomy. Dark clouds were rolling, and darkness was the only main color in this ocean that was forbidden from living creatures. In the vast sea, the new battleship of the Straw Hat Pirates, thousands of sunshine, like a meteor, passed through layers of stormy waves and officially invaded the core area of the Devil's Sea. Binks Wine, the melodious melody was carried by the chilly wind and spread across the dead silent ocean. The melody that came through the chilly wind was like a requiem written by the Grim Reaper, causing people to shiver all over. This dark ocean was the most dangerous place for humans, the heaven of the Grim Reaper. Nami, did we go to the wrong place? Did we invade hell? Usopp, who was born timid, trembled. This strange sea was isolated from the world. He had never even heard of it. It was as if it had been erased from human history. I just heard someone singing. Those who live in this strange sea are ghosts. They can even sing. It must be the Admiral that we offended. He used witchcraft to summon ghosts. That guy is really despicable, Usopp said with a serious expression. Sometimes, he would gnash his teeth in anger. Wu Chen was implicated even though he was lying down. Chapter 820. Everyone's eyes were focused on Usopp. At this moment, he was trembling, and his eyes flashed with panic. By the way, why did the Marines put the blame on us for the destruction of Enies Lobby? Isn't it a bit too stupid for them to just sit there and do nothing? The Marines are obviously trying to make us the scapegoat. Frankie, who joined the Straw Hat Pirates a few days ago, said. His tone was full of resentment. What worried him the most was that Pluton's blueprint was taken away. At first, it was Spandam, then he was killed by Dustless. It was self-evident who got the blueprint. Thinking about it, Frankie felt uncomfortable. He felt like all the machinery in his body was short-circuited. If it's just framing, then it's fine. The Marines have done a lot of this kind of thing. Sanji quietly leaned against the mast of the sail and immediately lit a cigarette. After blowing a smoke ring, he said, I'm afraid we will become the focus of the world in the future. It's inevitable that people will be jealous of us. Being narrow-minded, jealous, greedy, and wanting to stand out, this is the nature of a pirate. The more famous a pirate is, the more they want to hunt down pirates with high bounties. Now that the Straw Hat Pirates have risen in fame, they will inevitably face attacks from all sides. Conquering Enies Lobby, which has been safe for 800 years, this kind of world-shaking event is enough to make all the pirates who want to be famous rush to it. Fame is good and bad. While enjoying the admiration of the world, it is bound to attract attention from all sides and various attacks. A few days ago, it was announced in the newspaper that all the CP9 members were killed. The only survivor was Khalifa. She was the only one who wasn't safe. I heard that she just fainted, and when she woke up, she pushed all the blame on us. That hateful woman. Nami gritted her teeth and said with a regretful expression. She seemed to hate that she didn't kill Khalifa at that time. Jarrrrrr. The smell of barbecue drifted into everyone's nostrils. Everyone looked for the source of the smell and saw Luffy eating meat. Eat meat, eat meat. There's no need to worry about this kind of thing. Luffy wolfed down the fragrant barbecued meat. Compared to the crew members who had serious expressions, Luffy, as the captain, was exceptionally calm. He ate the meat calmly, attracting a lot of rolling eyes. Luffy, everyone exchanged glances with each other. Soon after, they let out a long sigh. They had an extremely speechless and troubled expression on their faces. Zoro saw it quite thoroughly, and he began to pick up the barbecue and wine and indulge in it. This appearance made Sanji's anger index suddenly rise. Hey, green algae head, Luffy's nerves are nothing, but why are you acting like this? Sanji stared at Zoro with dissatisfaction and said. Hearing this, Zoro opened his closed eyes and looked at Sanji, then continued to drink by himself. We've completely fallen into a passive position. It's useless to think and worry blindly here. Instead of saying these useless things, why don't we look at the long term and continue to become stronger? This is the only right path. Zoro's words made everyone silent, including Sanji. It was useless to scratch their heads because they had no strategy to fight back. The Marines pushed all the blame on them and they could only swallow their anger. It was impossible to resist. They had no right to speak and no strength. In simpler words, in the end, it was because they were too weak that the Marines could ignore their feelings and push all the blame on the Straw Hat Pirates. But who killed that group of CP9? Usopp brought the topic back to the CP9's head, thinking of the tragic deaths of several people. His brows flashed with gloom. These words made everyone stunned, including Luffy, who was the reincarnation of a hungry ghost. He stopped what he was doing and became silent. Dustless's figure appeared in his mind, and Sanji's cold sweat flowed as he speculated. That guy is an admiral of the Marine, he shouldn't kill his own people. The CP9 didn't die because of the Demon Slayer order. At that time, there was no one in Eni's lobby who had the strength to kill all the CP9 members. Zoro opened his eyes, and his cold eyes gradually faded. The boiling fighting spirit in his heart was instantly extinguished. Dustless's overwhelming strength that could destroy everything was still vivid in his mind. At present, he really couldn't raise the will to resist. If he encountered the CP9, he could fight back and still have a chance to win. But if he encountered an unprecedented admiral like Dustless, he would only be killed on the spot. He wouldn't even be able to make a ripple, he would be suppressed on the spot. It's better if we expose him. If he dares to kill his own people, the Marines will definitely expel him and even kill him. Usopp said with bright eyes. Everyone nodded with admiration. This is indeed a good plan. In addition to Dustless, there are 3 other admirals in the Marine. This kind of thing will only be a joke if it gets out. Robin, who was silent from beginning to end, suddenly said, "We are pirates, but he is an admiral, and there is no evidence yet." Even if there is evidence, will the Marines listen to pirates and catch an admiral? Robin couldn't help but feel speechless. The thoughts of these people are too naive. She is Wu Chen's secret chess. Naturally, she knows how huge Wu Chen's power is. Even if one day the truth is revealed to the world, Wu Chen's power all over the world will make the Marine afraid to shoot the rat for fear of breaking the vases. Chapter 8:21. Robin couldn't help but feel speechless. These people's thoughts were too naive. She was Wu Chen's hidden chess piece. Naturally, she knew how huge Wu Chen's power was. Even if one day the truth was revealed to the world, Wu Chen's power spread all over the world would make the Navy afraid to shoot the rat for fear of breaking the vases. That's right. After a long while, Usopp touched his head and smiled awkwardly. He couldn't help but feel that his stupid behavior was ridiculous. Why would the Marines listen to them and capture Dustless, who is a Marine admiral? It's simply a daydream. It really won't work. Zoro said deeply. He couldn't help but worry about the IQ of the Straw Hat Pirates. He looked around and suddenly realized that their IQ was not trustworthy. What's that look in your eyes? Green algae head. Sanji's eyes happened to confront Zoro, and his face changed greatly. Zoro's eyes revealed the meaning of looking at him as if he was an idiot. It means what you think it means, Zoro admitted. Hearing this, Sanji's face changed greatly. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to teach Zoro a lesson when an elegant song with vicissitudes of life came from afar. Binks's whine, this sudden inexplicable song made everyone stunned, including Zoro. He thought that the strange song was an illusion of overwork, but now it seems that it was real. Then there was a scream like a pig being slaughtered. Nami, you unqualified navigator, how dare you bring us to hell? Usopp and Choba cried out in shock. Their voices were like metal, as if they had been greatly stimulated. Their voices were filled with endless despair and fear. Binks's whine, the song was getting closer and closer. At this moment, a gust of wind came and washed away the fog in the air. A huge shadow appeared in front of everyone. Even because the mysterious object was too huge, it filled the entire eyeball. What a big ship! Even with Zoro and Robin's determination, they were stunned to see such an exaggerated ship. They immediately looked up and saw a skeleton standing there, elegantly holding a steaming coffee in his hand. Seeing this, Usopp and Choba immediately fainted. Under this demonic triangular sea area, a small mysterious submarine-like object was quietly sneaking around. It was heading in a different direction from Luffy and the others, pointing its sword at the location of Moonlight Moria. The black submarine was obviously an existence that couldn't see the light of day. It was just that it was painted black and had no other markings. The interior decoration was extremely luxurious. It was as if he had walked into a palace. It was fully equipped and looked more like a private yacht. "Young master, is it really okay for you to do this? If we are caught, we will be crushed like ants. The glory of the past 10 years is all thanks to that person. Otherwise, we might have been destroyed by that bastard Kaido." In the small swimming pool inside the yacht, Doflamingo was leisurely leaning against the shore. Treble was the same. Compared to Doflamingo, who had a face full of enjoyment, Treble was in fear and trepidation. "Shut up. I'm just a dog in front of him. I have to bite whoever he wants me to bite." Doflamingo suddenly opened his eyes, which were instantly bloodshot. Thinking of Dustless's figure, he gritted his teeth and roared, "When I'm not needed, he threw me in to Dressrosa as a guard dog. Even that trash Caesar dares to flaunt his power in front of me. Outrageous." The angry roar filled with monstrous killing intent spread. The submarine under the sea trembled fiercely, and the water in the swimming pool instantly froze. Treble's face also became silent. It was undeniable that Dustless had indeed been keeping them in the dark. Most of the time, he had locked Doflamingo in Dressrosa and secretly cooperated with Caesar to develop the ancient weapon, Pluto. Treble's mouth twitched as he looked at the ferocious Doflamingo. He immediately thought of Doflamingo's self-esteem, and the words that were about to come out of his mouth were swallowed back. In this chaotic world where ambitious and ruthless people were born, it was actually a great gift to be able to live without worries. So what if he was someone else's dog? Moreover, being Dustless's dog was far better than being someone else's dog. However, this was related to Doflamingo's self-esteem. If he said it bluntly, he might be beaten up or even killed by the angry Doflamingo. Doflamingo was extremely aggrieved. Unless Dustless allowed it, he had to rely on the submarine if he wanted to leave Dressrosa openly. He was like a mouse that couldn't be exposed to the light. It was self-evident how aggrieved he was. "Now, let's go find Moria to cooperate and discuss how to deal with Royce South. He will definitely agree to our conditions." With a crazy bloodthirsty smile on his face, Doflamingo said confidently, "Over the years, I've roped in a lot of reliable people. Even that man has my informants around him. What's there to be afraid of?" Treble looked at the arrogant and exultant Doflamingo and finally chose to remain silent. He felt that Doflamingo's words were unreliable. So what if he had an informant? In the face of absolute strength, any conspiracy was nothing, let alone an informant. Chapter 822. Seeing that Doflamingo was so determined, Treble couldn't say anything. After all, Doflamingo is the boss of the family, and the words of the leader can't be refuted. That guy still looks at me with his old eyes from more than 10 years ago. I must teach him a lesson. Doflamingo's tone was full of revenge and hatred. From beginning to end, he had never been grateful to Dustless. He took him in because Dustless used him. Now the time has come, there is no need to continue to be his lackey. It's time to fight back. Gecko Moria, that idiot, Treble couldn't help but be speechless. He felt sad for Doflamingo's ability to choose allies. Gecko Moria is a 7 warlords of the sea, but his strength is really not flattering. Don't underestimate him, the enemy of the enemy is an ally. Doflamingo sneered. Anyone who has grievances, hatred, or indirect interest disputes with Dustless is an ally in disguise. I always feel that it's not appropriate to go against him. It's a stupid feeling like a moth to a flame. Treble said. Idiot, I can tell you clearly that even if we don't betray him, we may be killed by him in the future. Doflamingo said with great certainty. People like Dustless who do whatever they want, never care about the reason for killing people. Maybe just because he is unhappy, he will kill them. Treble lowered his head and sat on the shore with his fat body. This time, Doflamingo secretly came to find Gecko Moria. Even the rest of the Don Quixote pirates didn't know. It is enough to see the seriousness of Doflamingo's mission. This is also helpless. After following Dustless for more than 10 years, Doflamingo knows that Dustless's means are terrible. It is no exaggeration to say that wherever there is an island, there may be a white Zetsu's clone. Here we are, master. There was a respectful voice in the cabin. Doflamingo and Treble quickly dressed. After some tidying up, they stepped into Gecko Moria's territory, the terrifying three-masted ship. I thought I could breathe fresh air when I came out, but I didn't expect it to be such a rotten place. After going ashore, Doflamingo cursed his bad luck. He didn't expect Moonlight Moria to have such poor taste, choosing such a dark and rotten place as a base. He was as tasteless and vulgar as he was. Doflamingo, if you don't feel well, get out of here immediately. I didn't invite you over. Your dress Rosa is comfortable, but my place is indeed thousands of miles away. But in the end, it's just another person's dog. The merciless mockery fell on Doflamingo's face, causing his expression to take a turn for the worse. Dense killing intent floated on his face. Bang bang bang. The ground trembled, and a huge monster at least 5 or 6 meters tall appeared in front of Doflamingo and Treble's eyes. He was dressed like a bat, his skin was pale, and his whole body was filled with a chill. He was one of the 7 warlords of the sea, Moonlight Moria. What do you mean? Doflamingo exuded a strong murderous aura. It was a taboo to be called a lackey. Now, Uegwang Moria dared to slap him in the face. How could he bear it? 5 lines of different colors immediately gushed out from his hand, sharp as a knife. It seems that you want to fight. That's fine, but you'd better figure out what you're doing here. Moonlight Moria said calmly with a scary smile on his huge face. You win. After thinking about it, Doflamingo chose to stop. He came to talk about the content of cooperation, not to fight. But he still said unforgiving, if the guy sand crocodile hadn't died, I would never cooperate with someone like you. Anne, who is that little girl? The content of our cooperation is only known to the 2 of us. Staring at the pink-haired girl behind Moonlight Moria with murderous intent, Doflamingo said unkindly, she's harmless. Kill her as soon as possible. Only the 2 of us know? Then what's the matter with the fat man behind you? Moonlight Moria looked at the girl behind him and laughed strangely. Her name is Perona. She's my subordinate. This is my territory. What's wrong with bringing my subordinates here? A lump? Treble was furious when he heard the words and glared at Moonlight Moria. His small eyes hidden in the crevices of his flesh were spewing flames. If it weren't for the existence of Doflamingo, he would have gone up and fought with Moonlight Moria. He actually came here, in the dead graveyard. The ground suddenly burst open, and a white head popped out. It was White Zetsu's avatar, looking at Doflamingo and Moonlight Moria, who had joined, and once again dived into the ground. Compared with the dead devil's triangular sea, Mariewa is like spring all year round. His courage is not small. He carefully bowed his head for more than 10 years, but in the end, he chose to die. White Zetsu reported the information to Dustless for the first time. No matter how I look at it, it doesn't seem like a coincidence. The corners of Wu Chen's mouth opened slightly as he muttered to himself. Dustless can understand the appearance of the Straw Hat Pirates in the Devil's Triangular Sea, but Doflamingo obviously has bad intentions. If he remembers correctly, Bartholomew Kuma also went to Moria's territory. It's difficult for Dustless to treat this as an accident because these people are all his enemies, whether it's Ursa, the Straw Hat Pirates, Moonlight Moria, or Doflamingo. These people have grievances with Dustless. It's difficult to make Dustless not think too much. Chapter 823. Rubbing his temples, Dustless shook his head and opened his wise eyes. This didn't look like a coincidence. Those who had hatred or indirect grievances with him were all gathered in Moonlight Moria's territory. It was obviously abnormal. There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. They won't come up with an anti-thief alliance against me, right? Dustless's face was weird, and he doubted in a half-joking and half-serious tone. Anti-thief? For a moment, he didn't understand what Dustless meant. White Zetsu was shocked by conditioned reflex. After a while, he understood what Dustless meant. He smiled bitterly and said, most likely, they should be discussing how to deal with Master Dustless's anti-thief alliance. A group of people who had grievances with Dustless gathered together. In the direction of the sword, there was no one else except Dustless. Doflamingo, that traitorous guy, has some skills. He even knows how to form a clique, but he's really disappointing. Even if he's looking for teammates, he won't just pull anyone in. He even wants a crooked melon like Moonlight Moria. Dustless sighed in disappointment. He thought Doflamingo could pull some kind of godlike teammate, but he didn't expect it to be Moonlight Moria. Moonlight Moria, forget it, pretend I didn't say anything. White Zetsu couldn't help but feel speechless. Moonlight Moria was also a popular figure. He once fought with Kaido, one of the Yonko. Although he was unfortunately defeated and was driven out of the New World, he was also a famous great thief. He finally joined the 7 Warlords of the Sea. This showed that Moonlight Moria's strength was recognized by the government. Now, when it came to Dustless, he seemed to be no different from the legendary passerby. But since they have made a move, I will reluctantly play with them. His calm eyes flashed with a teasing look. Since someone dared to play, then Dustless would play with them to the end. He would never back down. Hearing this, White Zoo's expression froze. Thinking of Doflamingo's current importance, he quickly said, we can't do without him in the process of building Pluto. It's not appropriate to kill him now. Once Doflamingo is killed, it means that no one will protect Caesar from building Pluton, and Dressrosa is an island that must be passed by in the second half of the New World. A large number of pirates visit every day. Without the deterrence of Doflamingo, the construction of Pluton will be exposed sooner or later. Of course I know this. I definitely won't kill him now. It's too cruel and unfair to kill Doflamingo without squeezing his value dry. Dustless said with a sneer on his face. However, with a playful smile on his face, Dustless said with a smile, it's okay to send the Marines to scare them, and by the way, we can teach them a lesson. Hancock. Dustless suddenly said. Hearing this, Hancock, who was standing behind Dustless, looked at him doubtfully. Her delicate and perfect jade face was full of puzzlement as she asked, young master, what are your orders? Go and bring me the Den Den Mushi that Sengoku gave me. When Hancock heard this, she thought it was an illusion and asked again, young master, are you sure it's the Den Den Mushi that Fleet Admiral Sengoku personally gave you? Dustless rolled his eyes and said solemnly, of course. I thought I wouldn't need that thing, but I didn't expect it to be useful now. In that case, I will fulfill Sengoku's good intentions. White Zetsu looked at the master and servant blankly. He didn't understand what they meant. I understand. Hancock nodded obediently and immediately disappeared into the dark corridor. Den Den Mushi? It looks very powerful. Is there such a Den Den Mushi? Seeing Hancock's back disappear, White Zetsu thought for a long time but still couldn't figure it out. Suddenly, a thought flashed in his mind. He realized that the Den Den Mushi was needed to destroy Eni's lobby a few days ago, and he couldn't help but sweat. Dustless Sama. Does he want to use the Den Den Mushi to order the destruction of the Sangue sailboat? White Zetsu asked in surprise. That's one of the 7 warlords of the sea, not a cabbage on the roadside. Dustless just closed his eyes and remained silent. He neither admitted nor denied it. Ta-ta-ta, after a while, there was a sound of messy footsteps, and a golden Den Den Mushi was held in his hand, and he was careful not to press the wrong button. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I believe that Sengoku also wants to teach Moria a lesson. Dustless said with a deep look in his eyes. He immediately took the golden den mushi from Hancock, and his eyes flashed with ridicule. It's good to let Gecko Moria have a taste of the Demon Slayer command. Anyway, it won't kill him. Consider it a lesson for dealing with Whitebeard before. After that, Dustless didn't hesitate to press the button of the golden den mushi. Guru, in the Marine headquarters, the silver den mushi used to receive the signal of the golden den mushi emitted a harsh sound, which attracted Vice Admiral Mole who happened to pass by. He looked at the golden den mushi with a stunned face. Without waiting for Lieutenant General Mole to ask, the messenger in charge of receiving the signal reported loudly, General Royce South has issued the demon-slaying order. The direction is the Triangular Sea of the Demons, the Triangular Sea of Terror. Chapter 824. The reason why the Straw Hat Pirates went with Brook was that Luffy thought he was too handsome. Of course, he also sympathized with Brook's rough identity. And they were attacked on the way. For various reasons, they chose to help Brook regain the lost shadow. What kind of guy would survive here? This place is simply a graveyard in disguise. Usopp, who was aware of the dead atmosphere around him, said. The large open space in front of them was filled with various tombstones. Obviously, they were all dead. Some of the tombstones had decayed. Obviously, the people who rested here had been dead for many years. This place doesn't seem right, Robin also said with a depressed expression. She was keenly smelling that something was wrong. She always felt that there were countless eyes looking at them, which was very strange. Ka. The sound of the ground loosening came, attracting the attention of all the members of the Straw Hat Pirates, and then they saw a monster with a centaur head coming out of it. It's a zombie. A shrill scream resounded through the sky, and Usopp and the timid Chopper fell directly to the ground. This unexpected scene made all the members of the Straw Hat Pirates petrified and stood motionless. Even Luffy's eyes were empty. But in the next second, it was replaced by a cool gold star. In the closed room, there were only 4 figures. That guy is a Marine Admiral. I need chips to fight against him, at least chips that can tempt me. Gecko Moria said bluntly. It's best to be straightforward with people like Doflamingo. Of course, that's not a problem. Doflamingo waved his hand and said generously. To compete with people like Dustless, he must have something to impress Gecko Moria. Otherwise, there would be no profit. No one would help Doflamingo deal with Dustless. I will satisfy everything you want. Doflamingo laughed boldly, looking like a nouveau riche who didn't care. He had followed Dustless to plunder the people's wealth for more than 10 years. Doflamingo had accumulated countless treasures, or rather, things like devil fruits. In short, he didn't care. In order to deal with Dustless and get rid of his hateful identity as a lackey, Doflamingo chose to throw caution to the wind. Well, I hope you don't talk empty talk. And the alliance you mentioned, it shouldn't be just the 2 of us, right? Uegwang Moria asked expectantly. That's a secret for now, Doflamingo shook his head resolutely. Currently, he was the only one who knew about this secret. He couldn't make an exception. Humph. Putting on an act, the fox's tail will be revealed sooner or later. Taking back his gaze, Uegwang Moria was about to change the topic. He was eager to know about Dustless's past. Naturally, he could not let go of this great opportunity. The only person in the world who understood Dustless the most was probably Doflamingo. Boom boom boom. Ka. At this moment, the violent vibration made Uegwang Moria's words disappear. Then, a visible crack appeared in the closed secret room, and a cold wind blew in. Moria, you are so poor. The room used to receive VIPs is made of inferior materials. Doflamingo sneered mercilessly. Perona. Who did this? A cold, bone-chilling voice popped out from the corner of Uegwang Moria's mouth, permeating a very oppressive and fierce breath. Perona, who was drifting behind Uegwang Moria, swam uncontrollably. Under this domineering momentum, she could only linger on. I'm not too sure, Master Moria. Perona replied with cold sweat. She didn't leave Uegwang Moria's side for a second. Naturally, she didn't know what was happening outside. Give me half an hour to find out, or else. You know how I deal with things. I am fair in rewards and punishments. For those who neglect their duties, I will never let them go easily. Uegwang Moria warned with a roar. Doflamingo was surprised. Uegwang Moria's overbearing side was rare. At the same time, a strange color flashed in his eyes. This guy seems to be reprimanding this little girl, but in fact, he is insinuating to me. Thinking of this, Doflamingo couldn't help but look at Uegwang Moria in a new light. He didn't expect this rude big guy to have such a wise side. Perona quickly left the sealed room and went to the source of the vibration. A faint golden light appeared in the darkness, and a handsome figure suddenly blocked in front of Perona. Girl, where did this lonely ghost come from? Stay away from me. Perona, who was in a panic, roared. At the same time, she released countless ghosts to expel the mysterious young man's back, but they were all easily avoided. Is this your ability? Interesting, but compared to the ability of the devil fruit, I care more about other things. Please tell me everything, otherwise, it will be hard for me to let you go. Dustless, who was wearing casual clothes, stood in front of Perona, looking at Perona who was floating in the air with his hands behind his back. Ripples splashed in his calm eyes. Chapter 825. The appearance of Dustless scared Perona. She usually calls herself a ghost, but now she understands what a real ghost is. There is no breath, just like a standing dead person. If it wasn't for Dustless to remind her, maybe Perona wouldn't be aware of the existence of Dustless. Who are you? Suppressing the strong uneasiness in her heart, Perona asked with a trembling voice after her soft breasts had calmed down. Her tone was still full of fear. Although she did not know the person in front of her, the invisible oppression and majesty that came out of him made Perona not dare to breathe loudly. This unprecedented oppression penetrates deep into her limbs and soul. Perona wanted to resist, but she couldn't wave her hostile hands to Dustless. This simple question seems to be quite annoying. Dustless raised his eyebrows slightly and immediately shook his head and said, I am the Marine Admiral that Doflamingo and Gecko Moria talked about. Well, tell me the general content of what they said. I'm really looking forward to how ridiculous the performance of these two insects will be. After saying that, not only was Perona not afraid, she even heaved a sigh of relief. As we all know, Shichibukai is the existence recognized by the world government, so they are also allies with the Marine, and so are the subordinates of Shichibukai. I like women who are sensible. Shichibukai's subordinates, I am not their opponent. It's best not to have such a ridiculous idea. Dustless said as he saw the panic in Perona's eyes return to calmness. After that, he also released a piercing killing intent. In a trance, you can hear the screams of ghosts and howls of wolves, which is chilling. You are an admiral of the Marine. Please don't say anything, it will hurt the prestige of the Marine. Perona stared at Dustless's cold face, and there was a flash of fear in her eyes. The opponent was a Marine admiral, and she really couldn't resist. Say something. Your idea is unexpected. How should I say, unexpected ignorance? Dustless couldn't help but feel speechless. The Marine has done this kind of thing a lot, and even more despicable things than this. Well, don't force me to do it, be sensible. The impatient Dustless accentuated his tone, and there was a touch of coldness in his words. You. Perona, floating in the air, had a flash of struggle in her eyes. She told Dustless about the conversation between Doflamingo and Gecko Moria. After that, Gecko Moria will definitely tear her to pieces. I will never tell you. After a moment of contemplation, Perona replied. Dustless's eyes gradually became cold, and the light flashed on his fingertips, and a sharp whistling through the dark sky. A resplendent beam of light directly pierced through Perona, but it did not harm her at all. Ghost body, Gecko Moria's. Chapter 826. Perona's face was dark, and her pretty face lost its former luster. It was bleak, or desperate. Between Dustless and Gecko Moria, she had no other way to go. She could only choose one and offend the other. Don't kill my patience. In fact, I can directly extract your memory, but my skill is not very good, so a little mistake may turn you into an idiot. Dustless said in a half-joking, half-serious tone, full of threat. Damn it. Perona clenched her silver teeth, and her eyes kept flashing. Facing the unfathomable marine admiral in front of her, she was just a lonely boat in the vast ocean, and she may be swallowed at any time without leaving any residue. It seems that you really want to become an idiot. The cold palm of his hand touched Perona's face and immediately climbed up and fell on the top of her head. A mysterious force overflowed from Dustless's palm. Perona was numb all over, and she trembled uncontrollably as if she had gone mad. Dustless gave her much more fear and oppression than Gecko Moria. Goodbye. His sight turned into Rinnegan Sharingan, and the devouring power in his palm was even stronger. When he was about to forcibly extract Perona's memory, her slightly sobbing voice entered his ears. I agree to your condition. Perona said while gnashing her teeth and glaring at Wuchen fiercely. Dustless's face was unchanged, and there was endless coldness. Obviously, tears were useless to this hard-hearted man, and it was difficult to even affect him. But I have a condition. Perona looked at Dustless nervously, and her eyes were pleading. You want to talk to me about conditions? Frowning, Dustless sneered in his heart. When he was about to refuse coldly, he saw Perona's nervous and pleading eyes. His tone couldn't help but stagnate. It seems that I still can't easily cut off the 7 emotions and 6 desires. With a sigh in his heart, Dustless's cold eyes also changed subtly. He didn't feel as indifferent as before, and he finally had a little more human touch. Why don't you tell me? However, you better not have any illusions. I can change my mind at any time, or even go back on my word and reject you. His indifferent face loosened, revealing a hint of warmth. His tone had a rare hint of gentleness. This, Perona's eyes flashed with hesitation, as if she was hesitating whether to speak or not. In her opinion, Dustless would probably laugh at her ruthlessly and then coldly refuse her. After all, he could directly extract her memories. There was no need to talk too much, and there was no need to add a burden like Perona. Then she remembered Moonlight Moria's coldness and ruthlessness, as well as his bloody means of dealing with traitors. Perona gritted her teeth and said, after betraying Moonlight Moria, he will definitely not let me go. I must follow you to be safe. After saying that, Perona lowered her head in embarrassment. Her exquisite jade-like hands tightly pinched the corner of her clothes. She didn't even have the courage to look at Dustless. That's it? After a while, Dustless looked at her in surprise and immediately asked softly, I have a maid who is responsible for daily life and a capable secretary. What do you think you can do? Perona's joyful face suddenly froze. She bit her lower lip tightly, and even some blood stains flowed out. She suddenly realized that she seemed to have no other advantages except fighting. Dustless, as a marine admiral, never lacked people who could fight. He himself was the predator at the top of the pyramid. Let's do this. Lowering his voice, Dustless stared at Perona and licked the dry and cracked corners of his mouth. I still lack a maid to massage my legs and shoulders. This task will be handed over to you. How about it? You. These harsh words entered Perona's ears and immediately ignited her flames. A large number of ghosts floated out of her body. Just as she was about to launch an attack and kill Dustless, she suddenly realized that she was stared at by a pair of emotionless mechanical eyes. Her whole mind short-circuited, and the dancing ghosts in the air also disappeared. Looking up, it was Dustless with a cold face. Want to dominate your own destiny? Sorry, that's the qualification of the strong. And you are just the one being dominated. In the past, it was Gecko Moria, but now it's me. These words made Perona speechless and immediately nodded silently. Being dominated by Gecko Moria is okay. The Marine Admiral in front of her is more reliable than Gecko Moria. Boom boom boom, at this moment, the gloomy large hall suddenly trembled. Immediately, it burst apart and a large hole was dug out. After which, a few human figures rushed in through the hole. That group of useless guys, it seems that Moria's soldiers have been defeated. But then again, the strength of this group of pirates is really good. They can even break through here. Perona said quite meaningfully. It was the Straw Hat Pirates who broke into the interior of the hall. This is normal. His grandfather is the marine hero Vice Admiral Garp, and his father is the world's most ferocious criminal, Dorag. It's reasonable that Luffy is talented. Looking at the Straw Hat Pirates in the distance, Dustless immediately turned and merged into the dark space. Perona took a deep look at the back behind her. She did the same and gradually disappeared with Dustless. Since she chose to abandon the dark, there was no reason to continue to be Gecko Moria's subordinates. Chapter 827. In the dead secret room, Dustless was sitting leisurely on a stone chair, and Perona was standing behind him. Her face was full of dissatisfaction, and all kinds of negative emotions were clearly visible. Perona couldn't help but be angry. Dustless's requirements were too much, and his style of living was not like a marine admiral at all. Hey. Are you kidding me? If you massage people's shoulders like this, you will be fired sooner or later. At least be a little more professional. Even if your skills are bad, you have to keep an apologetic smile on your face, instead of looking like an enemy who killed your father. Aware of the strong force coming from his shoulders, Dustless couldn't help but say. Under this strong force, his body not only did not feel relaxed and happy, but it became more and more uncomfortable. I'm not going to wait. Perona angrily took away her small hands and complained. Pouting her face in anger, Perona scolded in her heart. She had never seen a person like Wu Chen who knew how to enjoy himself. The strength must be neither too heavy nor too light. It must be just right. Simply outrageous. Forget it, massage my legs. Dustless ordered with a straight face as his legs straightened. Perona heard the words and looked stiff. She heard the indifference in Dustless's tone. Even if she was unwilling, she still walked to Dustless and stretched out her soft little hand and gently hammered. Not bad. Dustless whispered and immediately closed his eyes leisurely. Time passed quickly, and after about half a month, he opened his bright eyes. What did Gecko Moria and the traitor Doflamingo talk about? Dustless asked directly and immediately speculated. If it's right, the content should be how to deal with me. Now the little devils are not disciplined and like to jump around. His eyes suddenly became deep, remembering that when Doflamingo ran to Mariewa for help and shelter, Dustless opened an umbrella for him at that time. Now you don't even know how to repay the kindness, but you want to plot against him. The Alliance will deal with you together, Perona said truthfully. You? Didn't I say to call him young master? Dustless glared at Perona and said unhappily. Perona was extremely unhappy. She then looked at Dustless's cold face and nodded silently. She had no choice but to lower her head when she was under someone else's roof. Let's discuss the Alliance to deal with young master. Just the two of them? Dustless sneered. His words were full of disdain. It was difficult for him to pay attention to such a strange combination of mouse and sick cat. I heard there are others. Perona shook her head and immediately tilted her head to recall the contents of the previous conversation. Doflamingo once said that he had also silently roped in the people around the young master. The people around me? This is interesting. Ripples appeared in his calm eyes, and his bored expression was replaced by curiosity. Dustless only had a few people around him. Who exactly is it? Hawkeye or Cone Green Pepper? Or someone else? I hope it's an unexpected character. Staring at Perona's face, Dustless asked with a smile. This Doflamingo has been keeping a secret. He didn't say it, and he also kept a secret from Gecko Moria. Perona shook her head, indicating that she didn't understand. Is that so? Dustless's eyes flashed with pity. He immediately stood up and stretched. It's time to leave here. I gave the order to kill the devil before I went to the three-masted ship. It won't be long before the Navy comes to destroy this rotten place. After that, Dustless walked out and walked toward the tunnel ahead. Well? Turning his head to look at Perona standing still, Dustless frowned and immediately wondered, there is no need to be afraid. You are not a wanted criminal. You don't have to care about the Navy. Almost all of Gecko Moria's men were noobs, and most of them had no bounty. Looking up at Dustless's back, Perona's eyes flashed with embarrassment. She immediately gritted her teeth and said, my shadow was taken away by Gecko Moria. I can't leave this place until I get it back. As she spoke, tears welled up in the corners of Perona's eyes. Everyone wanted to live the life of their dreams. If she could, she also didn't want to live in this dark place that was neither human nor ghost. That guy is despicable enough, but his style of doing things is like this. For the so-called subordinates, he has always used them as pawns. When he joined the Shichibukai, Moria killed all his crew members and gave them to the government. Dustless explained softly and immediately walked to Perona's side and passed by her. Regardless of Perona's stunned eyes, he returned to the same way. The direction was the original room where Doflamingo and Gecko Moria discussed cooperation. Master, are you going to? Hurriedly keeping up with Dustless, Perona asked anxiously, are you going to get caught? Gecko Moria is very strong. He is one of the Shichibukai. The tone revealed deep fear and helplessness towards Gecko Moria. This world pays attention to the law of the jungle, the weak are prey to the strong, and the weak are destined to be dominated by predatory animals higher in the food chain. So what? Without stopping, Dustless glanced at Perona and said as he walked, he is one of the Shichibukai, and I am also a marine admiral. Why should I be afraid of a sea thief? The shadow that was taken away by him can be taken back again. Perona nodded like a chicken pecking rice and resolutely chased after Dustless's back. Chapter 828. In the dark corridor, two vague silhouettes were walking towards the corridor ahead. The two figures were extremely thin, and the tallest person was only about 1.75 meters. In this world where giants were flying everywhere, it was really not worth mentioning. Are you going to find trouble with Gecko Moria so casually? Catching up with Dustless, Perona asked with a strange face. Suddenly changing a boss to hit the face of the previous boss, she felt that something was wrong. She felt uncomfortable all over, and she felt like a villain. To get back what belongs to you, do you have to be sneaky? His footsteps stopped. Dustless looked at Perona in confusion. To get back what belongs to you, is it necessary to be sneaky? This is a matter of course, and it is necessary to do it openly. That's not it. Hearing this, Perona shook her head like a rattle drum. Suddenly turning over and stepping on the former boss under her feet, Perona always felt that it was a dream, and there was an unrealistic feeling. She was afraid that the cruel reality after waking up would make her desperate. Those guys are really stupid. The demon slaughtering order is still active. Dustless stared at the distant sea, and there was no trace of the Navy. Demon slaughtering order? What is that? Staring at Dustless's handsome face, Perona asked curiously. Hearing this, Dustless's footsteps suddenly stopped, looking around the entire island-like ship, and casually explained, it's nothing, just completely burn this big ship that looks unsightly. At the same time, Doflamingo also left the terrifying three-masted ship and left quietly in a submarine. He thought that no one would notice, but in fact, his every move was clearly seen by Dustless. He. I have contacted all the people who should be contacted. I hope Gecko Moria will not disappoint. Inside the submarine, Doflamingo was lying comfortably on the sofa with his legs crossed leisurely. He hummed an unknown tune as if victory was within his grasp. Hearing this, Treble, the second in command of the Don Quixote pirates, shook his head with a wry smile and couldn't help but advise, even if you can hold Royce South's people, including his men, don't forget that he still has an ancient weapon like Pluton. Treble's tone was filled with hidden bitterness as he pointed the spearhead at Doflamingo. Back then, it was this guy who had contributed Pluto's blueprint to Dustless in order to survive. This was a blatant aid to the enemy. Nether King? Humph. Doflamingo sneered and said proudly, don't forget that the Netherworld King's current construction base is Dressrosa. Once it's completed, I'll rob him. Doflamingo's eyes were full of fanaticism. It seemed that he could already imagine the scene of controlling Pluton, sweeping the new world, and trampling on the Yonko, 4 emperors. Even his hands and feet were waving uncontrollably. The pavilion closest to the water enjoys the moonlight first. Pluton is being built in Dressrosa. Once it's completed, the first person to get him will be Doflamingo. Treble saw this and couldn't say much. After all, in the Don Quixote pirates, Doflamingo still has the final say. Caesar, that bastard, I must tear him to pieces. Thinking of Caesar, Doflamingo's eyes spat fire, and the bloodthirsty murderous aura all over his body began to go berserk. That guy often relied on Dustless's high opinion of him to order Doflamingo around. Just thinking about it made him gnash his teeth in anger. Being ordered around by an ant had deeply wounded Doflamingo's self-esteem, leaving an unerasable shadow in his heart. Bang bang bang, in the cold dark corridor, a 6 or 7 meter tall figure swayed left and right. Every time this mysterious creature took a step, the ground would vibrate. That group of useless wastes, they can't even clean up a few small fish and made me lose face. Gecko Moria's face was black. He had just discussed the terms of cooperation with Doflamingo. As a result, his room was suddenly demolished. It was self-evident how depressed he was. Most pirates attach great importance to face. Hey, you dare to come back? Looking straight ahead, looking at Perona who suddenly flashed, Gecko Moria said angrily, it's all because of your group of incompetent subordinates that I lost face today and lost my bargaining chip in front of Doflamingo. However, Perona remained calm and looked as if it had nothing to do with her. From now on, I am no longer your subordinate, give me back my shadow. Perona stared at Gecko Moria and said coldly. Hearing this, Gecko Moria seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world and said contemptuously, do you think you can still be scared after getting on my ship? In your dreams. Immediately, he turned and stared at Perona. Gecko Moria's tone was full of sarcasm. Of course, if you can beat me, I can set you free. If not, shut up and work for me. Hearing this, Perona gritted her teeth and stared at Gecko Moria. She guessed that Gecko Moria would imprison her and live on this dark island forever. She can't, but can I do it? You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.